Hello and welcome everybody. We are here in the playoffs for the UK EL4 Nations Winter 2025 season. I am Thousand Eyes here with Rob, and we have a banger series for you today. Rob, how are you feeling? I know you were rushing a little bit.
Yeah, I know. We saw a lot of people from the UK yesterday at the Nottingham, the watch party and the NLC finals as well, LEC watch party as well. It was great to be there. I'm excited for today's game. As you said, I legally came back. No speeding happened, driving from Nottingham to London back to Norfolk.
Never.
None of that happened. But I am here for two great teams. Well, two teams in the lower bracket, but two teams that have shown a bit of promise in the split. One with some changes. It'll be exciting to see how today pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. Paragon versus RIZE Gaming. Like you said, a couple of changes on RIZE, but let's talk about Paragon first, because Paragon, they got here and they've been fairly middle of the pack. They've been not going above and beyond, but they've also been like the team, if you beat them, you're above grade. If you lose to them, you're below.
Yeah, pretty much exactly now. Hit the nail on the head. They were sat there in the 5th position. They got, at the end of the day, well, on the last day, I should say, they kind of dropped a little bit. There was potentials of them finishing 3rd with how results would have panned out in that last day, and in the end they get 5th, which puts them beginning the lower bracket. Chocolate in the top lane, you've got Soren J in mid lane, Bahodi in jungle for you, and Fast Legged bot. They've been pretty consistent. They've made some mistakes, and I think they did have a substitute issue early on in the split. The Oda, the Mac coming in, playing 2 games, going 1-on-1 there. Overall record of 5-4. It's been good. It's been decent. Their drafts have been a little bit wonky. I would say there were some games. I remember the game against Belfast Storm. There was like the Cho'Gath jungle, and it was just a complete back and forth. Was it Cho'Gath jungle? It was Cho'Gath in that game at least. Maybe it was jungle, but it was mid. But they flexed this Cho'Gath. They had these crazy drafts where like a Diana might come out. I think it was
jungle, yeah.
Yeah, it just goes a bit crazy. And as you go in further into playoffs, does that sort of level of craziness sort of pan out? I know they've brought another coach on board. That's not a leak. That's available to everyone. But they have brought another coach on board, maybe to fix some of that drafting, because it does go a bit wonky. And
especially, as you go like deeper, like teams now know about this, right? Like Cho'Gath jungle isn't going to be something out of the blue that people aren't prepared for. They've seen it. They know what it wants to do. They can prepare against it as well. But yeah, Paragon looking to be kind of keep that solidity going. Now we're looking at RIZE, who are a very different team now.
Very, very, very different, Thousand Eyes. So the current roster as it stands is Xiaomei in the top lane. He's played mid and ADC so far this split, getting a 3rd role to his roster, trying to match Timur Topper. And then in the mid lane, Casablanca, some may know them as Eddie Burry, I believe, according to LoL Pros. We used to play on 4th hall in top lane, now playing mid. Azora in the jungle, the Romanian mid-jungle duo coming in there. Dratiko coming in bot lane, a French ADC coming from, I believe, the French scene, playing in some of the winter tournaments there. And Scooby-Dooby-Doo, we all know and love. He's pretty good in the support role. These 3 pickups, which no flame to the people RIZE had before. I want to say Cardinal, Stelsum, and I think it was Arclight was playing bot lane for them. But these are massive upgrades, at least on paper. And we saw that I believe, in one of the last games of the season. They've only been around for a couple of games, this RIZE roster. Casablanca on Jace looked absolutely incredible, for example. Azora in the jungle as well. So coming today, it's 5th seed versus 8th seed, but it's an 8th seed with massive upgrades, with very little real to actually see of what they're doing. And that could be a massive benefit to RIZE today. Is it going to be enough to get through the consistency of Paragon? Well, I say the consistently inconsistent Paragon, I should say, because they have such crazy drafting, at least in the regular split. But is that going to be enough? I'm not so sure. I think this is an incredibly close matchup, way closer than many people would put it on paper.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you bring up the fact that there is not as much tape on this team as it currently exists as you do have on Paragon and what Paragon likes to do. Now you're up against players with different tendencies, different drafts, different whole styles of play. You've got to be able to adjust at a team that you may have been able to beat before. maybe not now. It's kind of up in the air.
And this may come down to, and I will say her name because it is publicly available, Zealous, who was coaching Rich Gang, has come and joined Paragon's coaching staff. This is an NLC Div 1 level coach. So if there's a series where, Coach Diff could come through, it kind of has to be this one because you need to get to that next stage. They will be going up against, I believe, whoever wins this up against Belfast Storm. And that's been an incredibly solid roster this entire split. So, looking forward for both these teams, they need to solidify their style today. They need to show that they've actually got set, game plans, stuff that actually makes us go, this is a competitor rather than this is just a lower bracket team.
Exactly, yeah, and that's going to be the pressure point too, especially as being in the lower bracket. You don't have the same safety as you do up in that upper bracket, so I'm sure a lot of these teams want to get themselves going, and they want to get themselves going fast. I'm sure this first game is going to be very, very important to set the pace, not just for this series, but for that whole playoff run here, because you don't want to start off on the wrong foot.
Absolutely not. And it also makes, it sounds silly. I've said about, I was during the regular season, I was saying, the relegations, you've got to watch the relegations. There's these two hungry teams coming up. You've got to remember this year, 2025 is a transitional year for the NLC. 2026, the UKL goes up to being in the RL Div 1, and you want to be in the league in 2026. So what you need to do is solidify your spot here now, and then that will get players on board. That will get, maybe not sponsors, but you get players and these kind of things on board that might want to join you, and that keeps your running going through the entire year. If you drop out and you get 8th, 7th, 8th now, you'll then got to look and go, well, are we, next split, how many upgrades do we need to be doing? What do we need to be, how are we building on what we're doing here? And that's far, far more difficult if you are in that 7th, 8th slot, because it's players looking at it and go, well, why would I go there? So today is so important, not just for this playoffs, but for also the future, for building, for all of these, for both these orgs. RIZE coming in this split, picking up one of the slots from the promotion tournament when Vernon and also Ruddy dropped out. They've been trying for so long to get into Div 1, and you'd not like to, give that up anytime soon, especially not going into the second split of the year. They're going to have to be locked into and show it.
Yeah, we are close to getting into game here. We did have to remake the lobby, so give us a couple more minutes on that one. But, I'm looking here to see just what are we expecting from draft here on both these teams. Obviously, we know a little bit more about Paragon, even if it is wacky, wild shenanigans. we have a little bit more knowledge here, but what are you expecting here?
Cho'Gath is obviously a champion that if we're looking at Paragon, you can't say, well, Cho'Gath right now, we saw it literally yesterday, funny enough, in NLC finals, saw it watching that in the nest. Cho'Gath mid came out. We've seen Soranjay play it as well this split. So that's at least a flex for them. Potentially a triple flex into top lane, maybe even a quadruple flex if they put it with a center and bot. So that champion is the first thing I'd point to. Barholdy's champ pool, you see a Viego. There's other things in there he's played historically. He's had a very good Lee Sin in the past, good Gragas. These are not power picks at the moment. So I'm interested to see what he views as being strong. Very good facilitator jungler, very good stuff like Volibear, Vi, Jarvan. But he's gone more towards carries this split, and I'm interested to see how if he chooses to change his style now with playoffs. Top lane, very solid. It's going to be Cassante. I'm sorry. I really apologize. I apologize to absolutely everyone that thinks it might not be Cassante. It's like that you lift off the mask, and it's always been Cassante. So that's what is expected here. But then mid, Soranjay usually goes to majors, but has shown us like the Cho'Gath. Was an ADC in the past. Maybe we can bring some of those out. And in bot lane, Kalista was quite a strong point for you. Varus, these are still very strong ADCs on the patch despite a few changes. Ashe has come up in priority as well. I'm usually a bit of an Ashe hater sometimes, but Ashe has come up in priority. We've seen Tristana a couple times from a couple premier UK ADCs actually in solo queue. Rhythm and Spark have been playing a lot of Tristana. And in support, I think Fastleg generally plays whatever he feels like. So it'll be interesting. He played Pantheon recently. Let's see if he wants to pick something else. He's got a crazy deep champ pool, that guy.
Yeah, well, we are getting underway in the draft here, as we can see Paragon on the blue side already taking away the Vi here. So that one's not going to be in game number 1. Very clearly targeting the pocket picks, or at least the strong characters that these players like to go for.
Yeah, and I was trying to avoid him because I do know some of the people within teams watch on broadcast, and I would hate to give hints, but Paragon needs to be considering a Zyra ban here. This champion is incredibly strong on current patch and is something that we know Azora does like quite a lot. In fact, I believe their their picture for their account is in fact Zyra. So they've got to be a little bit wary of that pick. Very, very strong. Also matches a lot of Casablanca's mid picks.
Yeah, we
And
are seeing. Ooh,
yeah,
Cho'Gath ban.
yeah, Cho'Gath ban. Like the Cassante ban is not particularly surprising either. And then the Varus as well for you is one of his best. The Draven ban, I think this is a little bit overzealous because even though Dratiko, I keep saying his name wrong, even behind the green room, likes a Draven, I think there are other premier ADCs on the patch. And we see the Kalista ban as well. That maybe is just a response to the Draven ban, but it has been something for you really enjoyed. First pick here, there's a lot of stuff available still. You know, Skarner is still here, got nerfed quite a lot. But yeah. we still see him. We still see him. Zyra is another option. They're just going to go towards the Corki.
And I think that's fine, right? Corki just works. Corki's good in a lot of scenarios here. You just grab him while you can. The Skarner being available is interesting. Be curious to see how far that goes, if that gets picked at all, because neither team seems to be prioritizing it. Mel is on the table. It's being flashed right now, but the Ezreal is currently the hover here, and I think that may be what we get locked in for RIZE on the AD carry.
Yeah, and it's something that we'd seen in his solo queue record as well. A massive win rate on that, like 72%, second most played ADC. So with the Draven out, go straight towards that Ezreal, likely lethal tempo. Everyone loves that lethal tempo Ezreal. And in the Pantheon, this is a flex. Scooby, I believe, could play it, but it is technically a quad flex right now. It's been played in mid versus the ADC, like Yone. So really solid first rotation. I'm not a Pantheon fan necessarily. I think there's a lot of things you can pick into it, which it looks like they're going to take the Zyra away, which I think is actually a massive pick here for Paragon. I think his champ is incredibly strong on patch. And now this gives Soranjay a free reign. If he wants to take mid here, he can. He can take it. He doesn't really go Yone into Panth. It's a bit of a bad matchup. But there's a few picks he could take up in the ADC mids. Corki is still available for them, right? Because they've already picked it. They could put that in mid lane. However, I suspect they're going to go a top. I can't say it fast enough. I would go for a top here and leave the flex of the Corki and then leave your support pick to make sure fast leg for you get a great matchup in bot. And we know Chocolate's a very good weak side top laner. He plays the Ambessa, plays the Cassante, all the favorites, all the flavors of the month. And they just pick that up. And the Azir, that's a Casablanca pick as well. This is very, very, it's not standard, but this is very close to what you would expect if you looked at the OPGGs of these players.
Yeah, I'm just curious now to see the Zyra in action here, especially because you are kind of you don't have a lot of setup just yet. The Zyra roots can miss, the ult can be walked out of. There's not that lockdown just yet for Paragon if they want to take team fights. Meanwhile, you have Pantheon, point and click stun, can really set things up for a team here and is just very good engage potential here. Karma being taken away by Paragon, Syndra taken away by RIZE in our second ban phase.
I'm not too sure about the Syndra. It's a Soranjay pick. It's quite good on current patch. It's good into the Azir, but I still think they're just going to match it with this. I have this feeling in my stomach they're matching it with the Corki. I feel like you're kind of wasting your bans here, RIZE. I think maybe there are other opportunities here. Maybe taking a look at that combo ban, see what's possible here. Like is a Braum a possibility? Not really into the comp, but something that Karma counters, because I just think this Corki just gets up being put mid. In the end, they just end up banning out Leona Karma. There's plenty of picks available here for RIZE. Like, I think you should probably take top. Renekton is a prime example. Renekton into Ambessa. My brain is melting. Ambessa is generally what considers to be one of the stronger counters. Vex top we've seen as well. It ends up being the Sion. This is a Xiaomei classic, really. He plays stuff like, I'm seeing about Hover, but Sion is his main top laner he plays. He plays Cassante and he plays Akali. So Sion coming through makes complete sense. It's not a great matchup, to be honest with you, but it is comfort. I would love this, by the way. I'm seeing a dog
on the screen.
I know it's a hover. We shouldn't talk about hovers. But there was a post I saw from a mid laner. I think his name is Blackout, a Portuguese mid laner. Might be the wrong name, but he made a post about Neferi recently. Okay, it's not going to be Neferi. It's very boring. I was going to say, I'm talking about hovers, but I
don't talk about hovers. But it was interesting. It was an interesting point.
Yeah, so Zyra Khan. I'm interested that they picked this because I'll be a little bit worried that you actually get outranged so hard here by Xayah. Not by Xayah. Xayah gets hard outranged by Ezreal and Azir. I'm a bit surprised to see it's picked up. However, is it for you, does like this champ maybe feels that he's going to be able to carry this, especially with the Pantheon coming in? At least you can sort of counter the Pantheon engage and the Sion engage. Few question marks on this pick. The Rakan, it's a staple, right? When you've got the ability to make plays. The Nautilus come through as a counter to the Rakan. Overall, both teams, I want to say Paragon has kind of solidified their draft. Firstly here, Paragon have gone away from the crazy. They've gone very much into meta. But I'm a little bit worried about just this last rotation, about whether they are going to have issues later about Fuyu putting his damage down versus an Ezreal Azir with a Sion frontline.
Yeah, I mean, this is also
Quite worried right now for Paragon, to be honest, because I think that the two new players on Rise, they're very, very good, Dratiko and Casablanca.
Yeah.
Very, very good. And
Yeah.
they're in the position to carry this game already.
Yeah, I think what's interesting to me here too is that there's just so much on this Rakan to set up everything here. Because we talked about how Zyra is the only other like real like CC that exists there, and that route can be dodged. The Rakan has to set a lot of things up here. Meanwhile, you got Sion, you got Pantheon, you got Nautilus, you've got Frontline and CC for days to allow for that Ezreal and Azir to be able to do that front to back as easily as they want to.
Yeah, it's a very... Funny enough, it's almost like Rise has gone back to when they were playing in Div 2. You've got a tank top lane. You've got this sort of... Pantheon is a carry, but he can facilitate very, very well with just stunning frontline, stunning whatever he wants. And then you've got two consistent carries in mids and in ADC with a sort of tankier sort of support, at least setting some stuff. They usually play in Enchanter in Div 2, to be fair, but this Nautilus here can just sort of hook however he wants. I have a few concerns about if Paragon late game are going to be able to actually deal with Azir and Ezreal sort of outranging. However, Zyra's clear is so unbelievably fast. I cannot express how quick that clear is. And so it's a possibility. Barholdy, who's played carry to split, gone back to a carry now, can he sort of get ahead of the game? And if you start seeing a couple fights go the way of Paragon, are they just going to force their way in there? Because they do have ways of doing that. And Besserol, Zyra, even just one flash Zyra engage could end the game. Something like a Rakan engage. They've got ways of forcing fights. I think it does come down to, if this game is very, very even and just pretty standard up until about 25 minutes, I would have worries about Paragon getting outranged and having to play a front-to-back versus a Sion. And so I'm kind of veering towards Rise on this draft, and the more I talk about it, the more I think that Rise kind of just take this game. But I do see ways that Paragon can win.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at Paragon, and Paragon are really good if you run into them and they're able to not get caught, right? Like the damage from Corki, from the Corki shred, the Xayah kiting backwards, the Zyra ult as well.
Oh, it's gonna be hell, this cast, isn't it? I realize it's Zyra and Zyra. Oh, it's gonna. We're not gonna say the names. Yeah.
Trust me, I'm very used to that at this point here. But like, it feels like a question of like, are Rise gonna get those like picks to get that early lead so they can just steamroll team fights, or if we hit that point of trying to chase Zyra, Corki feels really, really bad.
Yeah, I just have a few concerns about, like, a lot of times you'll see team fights, especially in the UK, it's a lot of standoffs and objectives, right? Two teams assemble formation in the river, form the phalanx, and then, like, just pew, 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 and then one person decides to engage because they get bored. And the thing is that Rise have engage, and they don't need to Nautilus Assault, for example, Xayah, do they? They can just Nautilus Assault Zyra, they can Nautilus Assault Corki, and that's still a perfectly fine Nautilus engage. They can't survive that, really. They can't stop it. And then, in a short, these like little pokey kind of trades, Zyra does a lot of damage, but Azir Ezreal can do an awful lot. Then you got Sion buffing that, sort of like tanking a lot of that, the outpoke coming in. It could be one of these cases you see these dragon standoffs.
Yeah, well,
and they just get run over.
We are ready to get into game here, as we are gonna be heading in game now, and we already have Rise getting up on that top side here as a 5 stack.
Yeah, interesting to see. Do they suspect a lane swap? Is the first thing I would wonder if they're like maybe scouting for that, because when you playing like Xayah into Ezreal, generally people prefer the Ezreal side of that matchup. Wonder if they're just going for a cheeky Invader Zord to see if they can catch out and better. Both of these would be great starts for Rise if they can get that information. Waiting in this bush. Oh, Scooby, no, no, you can't do it like this.
All the shenanigans are thrown away here, as they will just back away. They know they've been seen, and nothing Rise will be able to do to get anything out of this level 1, but it is going to be just a standard start then.
I want to mention that Paragon managed to get, obviously, the ward that every jungler likes to have on the enemy Raptors, so they are going to know if this Pantheon is, starting Raptors or starting red, going to know this pathing early on of the jungler of Rise, which is very beneficial to Barholdy when you're playing the Zyra.
Yeah.
Zyra doesn't like being an active ganker. She can gank, she's got CC, but wants to really go for a full clear, then maybe look to get, go get the crab, can always go for sort of, I call it the lunker for clear nowadays, where you clear full clear and then you go the opposite crab from where the crab on the side you started, essentially, you cross back over mid. And if this Pantheon goes to space, can you look for invades and maybe take some of his camps away? This is how Zyra wants to play. Doesn't really want to be bailing lanes out early. And so having this knowledge, which Paragon are more than aware because it was a Raptor start from Pantheon, is going to be huge to getting Barholdy some sort of lead in this jungle matchup. As we see in bot lane, just trades back and forth. Even going in early as the Nautilus here is very, very scary against a Zyra Khan level 1.
Yeah, they're known for having that great level 1 there with the synergy and do trade back pretty evenly. Also seeing the famed Corki Azir matchup. Chase it, run from it. You will never escape from Corki Azir in League of Legends, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we tried to remove this and it still comes back in all its forms?
We've changed Corki entirely.
Yeah,
he's a different
Corki
champion.
Yeah, and it's still here. I mean, I was going to say, this is also where we saw in the draft when they were banning our mids. This was a pretty expected outcome of the Corki being picked up early, right? It's able to bully stuff like the Azir lane pretty easily, at least for the first few levels. Later on, once Azir gets a bit of mana, a little bit more damage on his soldiers, he can kind of trade back. But the Corki E is such a broken spell, it seems so easy. As Chocolate, got to be a bit careful. Dodges out on the Sarn Q. This top matchup, by the way, I do like to think is pretty favored in the investment. But action bot side.
Oh, Sora might be in trouble here. Will be caught out, and first blood going to Bartholdi here is Paragon with the perfect invade.
And what we saw was almost a result of that ward on Raptors. They know where the Pantheon's going to be and when they need to push out their lanes. As Corki already had push in mid, aimed to join that before the Azir would ever dream of going in, and then the Paragon bot lane responding to Barholdy's call, being able to go up and move up there and help out. The Zyra is now so far ahead, taken the blue buff as well from the Pantheon. Pantheon's left with a Gromp in the bot side jungle. Zyra also getting this crab. If he's going to be able to cross over a double crab here, this is a huge lead already for the Zyra, who is hovering bot side. Interesting where Pantheon is going. Do they know where the Zyra is coming in? Because could be another fight, which Zyra walking to Pantheon here is very scary.
Sora finding Bartholdi here.
Root misses.
Electrocute going down, but Pantheon hits real hard in this early game. Has the empowered ability, but now we see Scooby caught out. Fast-legged low, burning, gets the ignite. Down on him, will fall. Both supports are gone. Asura still fighting out Bartholdi. Gets over the wall for the stun, and now Fuyu having to fight a 1v2. Gets the jungler down. 3 kills going over to Paragon. They're going to get the Warfare feat, and it is 3-2 overall.
I mean, that is honestly incredibly well played by Paragon in the end. Pantheon thinks he's managed to catch out Zyra. A lot of Zyra's spells missed there. The root does not land on Azura at the beginning of that fight in the little bush near the river. But Paragon bot lane, they know they've got to bail their jungler out, and they fight to the death, Thousand Eyes. They do not let Bartholdi go down without a fight, and that results in Paragon getting that win overall, right? They managed to get the kill onto Scooby, force him out. Yes, fast leg falls, but Fuyu picking up the kill as well onto the jungler of Rise, as Bartholdi flashed over the wall, Zora came right after, is massive for this Xayah, who we say, later might be outranged, but early on, if you can get this lead, the lane is much easier to play, and you are going to be able to spike a lot quicker on a champion that around these objective fights does get decent enough value if you play into them. And if you're behind as Rise, you're going to feel like you got to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's now become a question of, can you get those picks with those champions and do something with that, as it is a very solid start for Paragon. Going to be looking to see what they do with it here. Their bot lane in a very solid position. Can they get that lead? We talked about how Fuyu's going to be outranged by this Ezreal, but if you just hit harder, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, I mean, if you just are able to take the auto for auto trades, which with the lethal, it's not a lethal tempo Ezreal. Oh my lord, it is actually a press the attack Ezreal, which is very interesting. Because now these longer fights definitely favor that Xayah once she gets that lethal tempo online. Casablanca just backing off. Looking for a dragon here, I'd assume, Paragon, as they force everyone away, but they do have to be a bit cognizant that it could just be a 4v4, which is quite scary when you have these go buttons of Nautilus and Pantheon. So Bartholdi just looking to harass the jungler and not go for that objective. They aren't too aware if he's actually doing the Grom right now. So Bartholdi could be getting caught up, manages to get out. It's just like a very interesting early game for Paragon because I had concerns genuinely. I said in the green room about this Rise roster who could be a bit of a dark horse, and they're just playing into the Paragon and destroying them.
Casablanca going in at the wrong time, has to flash back under tower, and that is both flashes down in the mid lane, but Casablanca feeling a little bit more on the HP department.
Yeah, feeling a little bit pressured maybe to make a play onto the Corki, because also the Corki, it was flash for flash in the end, but Casablanca, once that flash from Corki comes down, he can start running you down the lane. So unless you get that Corki into the turret, it's not great, as Azura is the one who ends up getting the dragon here. On the other side, Zyra has crossed back over, going towards those grubs, so Paragon putting a bit more priority on that objective. Makes a lot of sense, right? Ambessa can play side lane this game pretty well, able to bully on that side lane, does get the percentage, the armor pen on her passive, so it is going to be able to get through the tank that will very likely be facing her, as well as being able to get onto the Azir later if that is the side lane matchup we see. So the grubs make a lot of sense, let you sort of push an advantage as Paragon. At least there is an answer back from Ryze. But again, Paragon seems to be the ones dictating the pace of this game. And look where Azura is, and look where Zyra is. Your top jungle's gone, buddy.
Oh,
and
your
Scooby's
support's
dead.
gone too. Scooby, where are you? Gone. And Ryze lose another fight in the bot lane here in this Xayah. 3-0 for you, Fuyu here.
And they're trying to cover here, Xiaomei. Xiaomei is desperately trying to save his jungler's top side. But it's not going to be enough because Chocolat also responds, so he can't force the Zyra off. She gets the red buff and the Raptors. Generally, you know, the 20 CS lead in jungle at the moment is 5 camps. That's nothing to sniff at. That's a almost 2 quadrants of jungle taken over the Pantheon. And look what Zyra's jungle. It's all alive. She's got to go there. She's going to clear. It's going to be a massive CS lead. They need to start looking to see if Azura can get some of that CS back, because once you start falling behind a little bit in this matchup, around the next objective fights, your go button is either, again, Nautilus Assault or Pantheon has to get a stun. And if you are behind, the Zyra damage is absolutely insane right now. So Pantheon not able to get anything else back here. This is going to be a massive CS lead in favor of Barholdy. And we'll just have to see a Paragon who have so far looked way more solid in their early game this game. They've not made any funky mistakes, really. They've fought to the death around things they need to fight to the death over. They've got kills in bot lane. Can they continue that into the mid game? Because Paragon, again, a little bit shaky overall in some of their wins and some of their losses. And they're looking incredibly solid against a team that, with these changes, a couple of teams were a little bit worried.
Yeah, I think Zyra versus Pantheon is about as farm heavy versus gank heavy as you can possibly get in terms of jungle matchups here. And we're seeing that here. And the problem is that Azura has just been pushed out of their own jungle. Just no way to even get the first clear done. Now Bartholdi, level advantage on top of the CS advantage, will be a big threat in fights, and that Pantheon's gonna start to feel behind very, very shortly here. And you have your bot lane, which is already struggling here. Scooby has already fallen twice, 3 kills. Essence Reaver already completed here for Fuyu.
Yeah, and it's just a huge gold lead for that bot lane, which is a bot lane that should be going a lot better for RIZE than it is currently. And I just want to add, I said in the green room that I was surprised. I thought Zyra would be very high prior this series, purely not because of Barholdy, because Azura plays this champ a lot, and it is so strong in the current patch. Interesting to see that they wanted the Pantheon and gave that Zyra over, and at the moment, it looks like it's almost a difference maker. She's almost 30 CS up now. Yes, he's taking his top side camps, it's going to go down to about 25, but that's still a huge difference. The Leandris is already completed.
Yeah, what do you do?
It's going to be horrible around the next objectives until you manage to get your Ezreal and your Azir online. And at the moment, it's not looking that way because Soranjay, who has had a few difficult laning phases so far the split, as a gank comes through in mid, but Casablanca just shifting sands away a little bit. But Soranjay's had some difficulties in his laning. He's ahead in this matchup. And I thought Casablanca would come in, he looked really good in the last few games that he played in the regular split when he came and joined RIZE. And Soranjay is matching him. This is so far a great look. And 4-man in mid lane.
Yeah, the ult immediately taking Casablanca down. Just beautiful play. And because the game's going so slow, you have the opportunities to just, take Rakan mid, ult flash onto the mid lane, get a kill. Now you get priority on the grubs that are about to respawn here.
Yeah, and you already know that Ezreal cannot really be at that, can't be at those grub fight, right? Because currently he's trying to harass down your Xayah, who's more than happy to just sit there and take the farm. So it's going to be at best a 4 versus 4. Ezreal is not going to be there, and he's not the strong suit point of Ryze's composition at all. But when you are this far behind already in the jungle matchup, behind in mid, and top is slightly winning, but it's a go button is all Ambessa's ult really is in this game. You can't even contest. You need to bring 5 members. If you're going to try and fight here, this could spell doom for game 1 for Ryze if they don't win this fight.
RIZE looking for this here. They do want to go on. They're just going to catch this Ricard out here.
God,
Big
so
Zyra ult hitting, though, and Scooby does not have the HP bar to stay in the fight. Flash out from Chocolate, who will go down. Big Azir ult to push Bartholdi back into the team. The Grubs, though, get picked up. All 6 Grubs to Paragon. The Azir ult pushed Bartholdi in to grab the kill as Bartholdi died.
I mean, the sort of, not mental fortitude, but the sort of presence of mind for Bartholdi to at least get something as he dies is very important there. Getting 6 scrubs is massive, but that is pretty clutch. However, we do see RIZE at least winning this fight. It did feel a little bit like Paragon weren't ready to sort of start that. Xiaomei being able to force out Zyra Flash so early was a little bit difficult. Xiaomei's got to be a bit careful here, though. He's got the unstoppable onslaught, but I don't think Ambessa's letting you.
I think we're past careful here. Gonna use the ult. Does get away. Had to angle that correctly, and beautifully done by Xiaomei to get out of a very sticky situation, because that is an Eclipse finished on Chocolate.
Yeah, and even with the heart still finished for the Sion here, I'm impressed that Xiaomei has been able to obviously keep on CS and have a little bit of a CS lead actually over his top lane counterpart. Azora, never mind, he's been caught in bot river.
Cannot be caught out here. Already down to a 3rd HP. The Zyra plants are hitting hard, and backup will get Azura out, but things do not look good for this Pantheon.
And to be honest, the pace at which Paragon play is surprising me. I'm trying to talk about, other parts of the map, but the fact that they're able to already be on this dragon, Azura's going to have to base. This dragon will go over unless RIZE make a sort of pretty clutch fight. Pantheon ult is available, remember, so they do have to be a little bit aware that the Pantheon being back isn't the end of the world for RIZE. However, Soren J is also low, so Paragon, they got to catch someone now. Scooby
is caught. Pantheon gets the dragon. Azura steals it away and keeps them alive in this fight. Now they got to get out while they can. Dratiko trying to buy time. Fuyu going low on the HP. Azir on the side as the Xayah ult keeps her alive, pushing away Soren J. Casablanca on single-digit HP gets the shutdown on the Corki, and RIZE find a way out, burning down Dratiko. May not make it out. Shield from the barrier going to keep the Ezreal alive, and RIZE get away with murder. Fuyu, no! Can't walk away from the Ezreal, and Fastleg caught out too. RIZE, how are you pulling this off?
Oh, no!
Bartholdi, no! Getting ulted by the Nautilus, hooked. Dratiko just has to hit the auto, but 2 kills. Back over to Bartholdi. What just happened?
That was absolutely insane. That was a crazy fight. Paragon, initially it looks like they got a pick onto Scooby, who manages to survive, by the way, despite being the first one fought at all on the side of RIZE. Pantheon manages to get that steal with the Q smite, which is a large burst of damage. Paragon maybe forgetting about that objective, focusing the Nautilus a bit too much. And it looked initially like RIZE were in a bad spot, then in a great spot as Fuyu was so low. Soren J maybe tried to return that kill onto the Azir. Possibly could have got it. Unlikely. In the end, the Azir, the range on the soldier is a bit longer than Corki's auto range. Ends up falling down, so RIZE get 2 kills. You think this is going great. Fuyu dies. Soren J dies. But no, it's just not enough in the end because Bartholdi manages to turn it around. Getting those 2 kills is actually massive. But all 3 had survived there, Thousand Eyes. That's a mental breaker for Paragon. I know that, mental fortitude, these are experienced players, but if all 4 members had survived on 1 HP, you start criticizing, going, well, could we have done a bit more here? Because, would this be the game breaker? Yep. This is possible. It's scary. It's really scary if you're Paragon. That was a crazy fight. I'm actually shocked at how close that was because of how fed the members of Paragon are.
Fastleg just also fat-fingered ult there. Don't know if that was intended. I also want to call out, too, that dragon would have been the objective bounty grabbed for Paragon. That would have been them getting the extra boots as well, if they had claimed that, because they both of the Void Grubs. Oh, Scooby, no, cannot be walking up there, as will be caught out. Zyra ult used, the hook doesn't really go too far.
He's alive!
There's the missile! And that will be Sora J stealing that kill away. Scooby just face checking into that bush a little bit too close.
And this time you didn't have the Pantheon to come and sort of save the play, so to speak. Scooby does end up falling. And Paragon, you know, they're having to write. It's not really writing a ship, but it does feel that way after that Drake fight, and they managed to pick up a kill. Very, very important. This Herald as well is a possibility if they want to look for it. As Casablanca currently basically 1v2ing mid support here of Paragon. They end up not going for it. They're sort of saying, listen, we've got to get some bases off. Oh my god, that's a lot of damage. The Bartholdi is going to have to try and hold mid here against the two longer range carries of RIZE. Never mind. They're just going to go for Herald instead. They're going Herald instead. I think this is interesting that the way RIZE are playing this, because maybe they feel like with that fight, they actually have a win condition later if they get their damage down. And so they're not too scared about trying to go for this with everyone basing. They pick it up. It's just a very interesting game. Paragon looked like they had all of the pace early on. And now they're going for a play top RIZE. Got to be a bit careful here, Chocolate.
Chocolate feels like he has the advantage. Can't really push too far out, though. That is 3 objectives now going over to RIZE. So it is up to first tower on who is getting the special boots.
Yeah, it's incredibly close to see who gets those feats in the end. How close are the turrets on the map? It looks like top is super close. Yeah, I was going to say, right now, you've got to be a bit careful. They do have grubs here, Paragon, so maybe they can force something down. With Dratiko basing, that bot turret's also in a bit of risk, but Azora's here to cover. Paragon are shifting for this right now. There's 4 members on the bot side. Scooby
has to flash over the wall. Maybe not the right direction. Does get away, though. But that is a lot of damage being put down on the turret. 4 people down here. They want to get this tower. They want to get this ASAP, and they are going to claim that. First turret going over to Paragon. They are going to claim the boots, and they will make their way back over to the mid lane here with their victory.
And this is quite nice for them to sort of get that in the back pocket, getting, you know, the benefits of getting all those kills early finally coming to sort of fruition, right? You don't get that first blood gold anymore, but you do manage to pick up the feats. This game feels really good. 5 members here for Paragon again. They're just overloading best they can, and Scooby's caught.
Does get away this time. Will survive, but that is, we have no flash, and that is a 3/4 HP. Asura is also extremely low on this. I don't think this is a fight that RIZE want to take, and they're going to be having to take it anyway, as there is the ultimate from Chocolate, grabbing the kill onto Scooby, goes over to Bartholdi. Xiaomei is still on the front line here, just teasing with this dragon. Asura is still very low. Big ult coming in from Xiaomei, as now Dratiko shifting over the walls, getting into the fight here. Asura just cannot walk forward. Xiaomei tanking, but for what? There's not a lot of damage to follow through. Has to back away. The dragon hitting hard. Asura now pushing forward. Big Azir ult.
Shuffle.
Double kill going over to Azura, and now the dragon getting low enough that it's going to be picked up by RIZE. They get the kills, they get the dragon, and they win the fight.
That just felt like Paragon were just a bit discoordinated. Look where Xiaomei is playing. He's frontline, but not really. He's playing in the river, and the other 3 members of his team are sat around that tri-bush waiting for the Sion engage. They play it slow. They know that over a longer fight, they will have more damage because of the Ezreal longer range, because of the Azir longer range. They wait, they poke, they wait for Zyra ult to go down, more importantly, and in goes the Azir. The Zyra ult comes through, the Azir shuffle comes through, and one wins, and it's the shuffle. Picking up 2 members. They both end up falling. The dragon going over to the side of RIZE. This is very scary now for Paragon. It may be 11-11 in kills. It may be even in gold, even at 20 minutes. However, RIZE's comp later, the poke is very hard to play into for Zyra, for Xayah, even for Corki to some degree because of the range difference, but still, it's a lot more difficult for the other opponents around him. They now need to look for a couple of picks. They're getting picks here, Paragon, but they're not getting team fight victories.
I want to call out just the solo laners from RIZE in that fight. Just
Xiaomei did so much.
Xiaomei, beautiful spacing there from the Sion, and then perfect ult from Casablanca. Now going up to this top side here, Bartholdi trying to help Chocolate out, but a little bit too late. Another pick. 12 kills now on the side of RIZE. With the 3 dragons here, what a call out. Every dragon has been taken by RIZE. They really should not have been able to get 2 of those dragons. This should be 2-1 in favor of Paragon on dragons.
Absolutely, and it's just this great early game from Paragon's kind of falling apart a little bit. As look how tanky Xiaomei is against this Corki. It's going to be the same problem for Xayah. until she gets that last whisper and then the Lord Dominic's regards online, she's not going to do as much damage to this Scion, who is just going to be able to frontline forever. And we saw what Xiao Mei managed to do in that previous fight. We already shouted him out once. We'll shout him out again. Massive unstoppable onslaught into a massive knockup for the decimating smash. And that just sets up a fight where, honestly, the health bars were not looking good for Ryze. Azura was very low. Scooby was dead. Yet, through the play of Xiao Mei, through the play of Casablanca, they come through. And now, going into this next Dragon fight, which would be Soul, well, will be Soul for RIZE. Paragon have to fight this, and can they get another pick again? Can they play the fight a bit differently? Because it's been now in 2 fights where it's been close, and then sort of RIZE have looked incredibly good. The first one was saved by Barholdy, and the second one was saved by no one. Drakiko, got to be careful. Does survive. I'm now looking, how do Paragon make a play? Because I think they actually need to make a play at this point. I think even with the Pantheon jungler falling off, they don't have the damage. Watch out, Drakiko. Oh, so close. That would have been huge.
Oh, just very, very sketchy here. Asura also finding out here there is a Soren J close by, but Asura is not on the right side of this fight. Has to get away. Can use the E move speed if need be, but is waiting here. Wants to try and take this fight. Don't think that's a fight that RIZE really want to get into just yet. Waiting for Jatiko to show up as Otacon looks to be where these teams want to prioritize.
They're pinging it here, RIZE. They really are thinking, okay, can we start this? They've got Pantheon ult. Maybe they can come back. They're just going to reset. Okay, so Paragon, don't think they're going to start it. They back off. They're coming from a better angle here, to be fair. Going through that tight choke with the Scion playing bot side would have been absolutely just destruction. RIZE would have absolutely slaughtered them. So Paragon sort of moving back through mid. They've all reset here, RIZE, so this mid turret should fall for the side of Paragon, especially with 6 grubs. It does. So at least Paragon here are getting not so much cross-mapping as at least being able to play other parts of the map and getting some sort of gold back into their back pockets.
Oh,
but now RIZE are back out with numbers. Drakiko, he's caught.
Dratiko is not going to be surviving this one. Shutdown going over to Soren J. That's not what you want from your Ezreal and RIZE. Now, in a very tough situation here. Do they want to take the 4v5 here while they have the health on their carries here? Got to back away. Paragon, get their pick. They're going to back off, get their win.
It is a win, but how much does it actually result in? They managed to delay the Atacán a bit. RIZE were on resets, right? They'd all come back and already spent their gold. Now we at least see Paragon being able to do the same. Xiao Mei stays out on the map here. Already 2 items on that side. I'm incredibly tanky. We are seeing, 2 items across the board sort of coming through. Interesting to see Xayah not going for a Lord Dominic's Regards third, going towards the BF sword, the pickaxe. That's going to be an Infinity Edge. That someone's going to be really hard to kill. If we see Randuins or any more armor items, pretty much going to be unkillable unless all 5 members are hitting him, even with the Zyra damage.
Yeah.
Right now, Paragon need to look for another pick really to delay the game to get their items online, because I think they kind of want to go a bit later now, because at this moment in time you're seeing these items completed on the Azir and the Ezreal as well. This Atacán fight, if they poke you down slowly here, RIZE, they're going to be able to then just force and engage with Nautilus, and even if Scooby dies, it will be a win. So Paragon are going to have to... They need to flash. Paragon are going to have to flash in and look for something, because Scooby's playing on an angle here to try and delay this as long as possible. Xiao Mei's playing frontline. How do you play this game as Paragon?
Oh, and the Ezreal coming across, getting a lot of damage on the big members here. Got to be going into that back line, but Xiao Mei is already deep into that front line.
Xiao Mei
is
losing so huge,
HP.
Though.
Fuyu is hitting hard. Shutdown. 2 kills going over to Paragon as they've been able to take it down, but the Dragon gonna go over to Paragon as well. Soul not picked up by RIZE, just a little bit too split in that fight.
And you just have to wait the end of it. Oh!
Barely gets away. Fast-legged, able to stay alive. RIZE want to get something for their trouble. The best they're going to get is shoving this wave in and trying to get some damage on this tower.
I think they can at least maybe look for this. I don't think they can force onto the Xayah, despite her no longer having the Feather Storm, but okay, the mid turret does fall, so they at least get something. That was a crucial fight for Paragon, which initially they did have to burn flashes. We saw their Farsight flashing onto the Ezreal, and I want to shout out Chocolate for that fight quickly. It doesn't look like he does very much, but he is on Ezreal the entire time, and the Ezreal has to arcane shift back over the wall towards that Hex Gate, that sort of side, and he's not doing any damage. So while the front line of RIZE come in, they get devoured by Zyra and devoured by Xayah, and that means that's a fight win. So big shout out to Farsight and Chocolate for being able to pull that one off, because I think they're going to have to look for that again, and they won't have flashes the next time. However, a lot of these cooldowns are gone for Ryze as well. And this is a Baron start for Paragon. Oh, it's the Zyra. I love this. I love seeing a good old Zyra Baron cheese.
It makes those plants hit so much faster, and it takes
the
Baron immediately. Baron's already gone. Paragon grab it, but can they get out? They're gonna grab Chocolate. Chocolate's gonna go down. Casablanca caught out on the other side, though. It is 1-for-1 right now, and Dratiko is very low HP. Can't get into the fight, and the Xayah is hitting so hard. They don't have the damage for this fight, and Paragon, they're turning it back around. They chased a little bit too far. RIZE need to run for it, and Paragon chasing them down. Baron grabbed. 2 kills to 1.
That is another huge win for Paragon, because as soon as you see that Pantheon Spear come in, you think, oh, we're going to have to fight here, boys. We've not got Zyra ult. How do we play this? And it ends up they play it pretty much perfectly, to be honest. Even though Chocolate falls, he did that. He sacrificed himself for the team. He runs in. He goes in there full speed. You see, he doesn't dash away. He's playing into the side of RIZE to delay the fight for long enough. Casablanca on the other side goes in. And one is an Ambessa, and one is Azir. One of them is a 0-4-2 Ambessa, and one is one of your main carries. Casablanca falls, Chocolate falls, but that's a trade Paragon take any day of the week. And then Azora just overextends the play a little bit. I think at that point you've got to let it go, because going back in there into the Xayah is just too difficult in those choke points. Yes, you might have the Ezreal, but you need to play these fights slower, right? You want the poke from the Ezreal, the poke from the Azir. You don't need to snap engage. You don't want to snap engage into the Paragon. And RIZE do that, and they get punished. And they're being caught here, RIZE.
Oh, Azora caught again here. Ezreal ult comes through, but it is not going to be anywhere near enough. Xiaomei also caught on the wrong side of this fight. I think TP, no, didn't even TP, just walked around. TP coming in from Chocolate now is, Xiaomei's just dead. Xiaomei is just going to die. Now Paragon trying to push forward, see if they can get a little bit more ult on to Scooby from Chocolate, as Ambessa will force
Casablanca?
This Nautilus gone. Casablanca's trying to make something out of nothing, and he's just going to fall too, as Dratiko, the last one alive, will grab the kill onto Chocolate, but that is very little in terms of what Paragon have taken now.
Paragon pick up 4 kills. They pick up mid-tier 2. They're now going to pick up mid-tier 3, the inhibitor turret. They're very likely looking for the inhibitor as well. Dratiko cannot defend this if Paragon let him. Okay, they're not going to go for it. I think they could have maybe tried, even with the respawn of Azora. I think they have the damage, but still, they did play a bit safe. He's still trying here. He's actually shifted in.
Oh, Dratiko is playing aggressive here, trying to stop the backs, trying to get at least a little bit of pressure down here, but Dratiko cannot do a whole lot alone. Things looking rough now for RIZE. They had such a solid start to this game. Into that mid game, pulling themselves back, but Paragon now just have played these fights out perfectly. RIZE feel like they're just not playing their comp the way they should be.
Yeah, and the Atakan being taken is, sure, he goes over to very likely to RIZE if this steal doesn't come through, but I want to see the follow-up on this fight and on the Dragon, because Paragon here, they are still in the driver's seat despite this Atakan take, but the Dragon is spawning. That's the actual bigger prize. That would be sold for RIZE. This is also a ruinous Atakan, remember. You get the experience, but you're not getting those false lives, which, despite being nerfs, are still very frustrating to play into a pro play, right?
Yeah.
And I want to see Paragon push. They're answering. Perfect. Paragon look for the push mid. They already kind of have it already, so they're just now taking camps. This reset is a little bit dangerous here for RIZE, because they kind of need to get this Drake if they want to have a good chance of not being forced onto again. I think if this Dragon goes over to Paragon, the game gets delayed, but RIZE are still going to be in a difficult spot with where the gold is on Paragon's carries, right? Look, Soren J sat there 9-1-5. You see the 6-1-8.
They're given.
Of Xayah, there's a lot of gold here for Paragon. If they can get a little bit more into their back pocket as well, they're already the 2 Lord Doms finished, so Xiaomei is no longer going to be as tanky. They're trying to push mid here, RIZE, but RIZE, they're a bit slow to answer because Paragon get their resets. Maybe they get a top turret RIZE, but it's not going to be much of a gold swing. Even with that Atakan being taken, I think Paragon should still feel pretty comfortable, because they can at least look to force now. Flashes are back up on butt holding and fast lane. Watch that Rakan engage.
There it is on the Xiaomei. Tower is taken, but Xiaomei is just getting melted down. Gonna trade 1-for-1, but that is a support for a top laner. Fuyu taking some damage here from the Azir tower. Will stay alive, though. It is 1-for-1 tower taken for RIZE, but it feels like grasping for straws.
Yeah, they get the top turret, but they do end up giving their life for their Scion, and now they kind of leave with the hell between their legs. It's also, remember, that's 5 members taking that turret. You're not looking at the big 675 on one member getting an item completion, that's going to be spread across most of the members of RIZE. So yeah, it's not as big of a win as you like to think. Also, not being able to secure the soul. I mean, Hex Soul this game would be absolutely disgusting. Hex Dragon is a disgusting dragon already, so Paragon having 2 of those feels pretty good about it, as now they're just going to go push top here Paragon. Remember, Baron spawn will be coming up soon, so that is already was one of those already into Paragon. Paragon now, if they are able to play it around that Baron, or is going to be able to pick up another one maybe. I like to think that they are at least in the driver's seat so far with the items they have online. 10 stack Dark Seal for the Zyra, for example. You've got those 3 items online, 4 items on Fuyu. You're going to have likely 4 items soon coming on board for the Corki as well. Chocolate's just simply the sacrificial lamb this game, but still doing a great job at it. And then you're seeing here on the other side of RIZE, it's like, are they going to be able to play their comp slow enough? Because this is always a bit of a fault in these lower level games, right? Is you draft the comp, which is more slow, slower. Poke with Azir, poke with Ezreal, but there's that compulsion to want to make a fight happen, especially playing Nautilus. That's hard to get out of your system. And Paragon, they're sort of lapping up that inability to play the comp right, really, from coming out of RIZE.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we seen it? Like, Casablanca goes in to try and be the sacrificial lamb, that there's no damage. Chocolate does it. That's a 1 in 5 Ambessa. And that's not really the end of the world. That's kind of what you want your 1 in 5 Ambessa to do anyway. So it's kind of fine. But when Casablanca goes down, it doesn't look good. Fastlane going in. There's the engage. A 0 just to buy more time. And they may have gone a little bit too far this time. Chocolate and Fastlegged gone as RIZE stop the engage, cut it off, and now they're going to look for the fight as it is 5v3. Can Bartholdi get away? No, hook hits, followed through, but Fuyu is hitting.
The damage
like
is so gross from Fuyu.
Sorjay gets over the wall. A little bit of too far of an engage from Scooby. And now Paragon disengage here as RIZE still buying time. There is the engage. No, Fuyu hits so hard. This Saya is insane.
Oh my god, a play from Paragon that goes awry, ends up being saved by Fuyu, the man who joined halfway through the split. He's just looking absolutely phenomenal this game, to be honest. I mean, he's saved a couple of fights. And this is a massive save. If they Fuyu end up falling there, that's Baron, right? If you lose Fuyu, you're not contesting this Baron if you're Paragon. If you're not contesting this Paragon, they're going to have to play into the compromise that's poking you down. Doesn't end up happening. Everyone from Paragon respawns. There's still 20 seconds left on the Zora. Paragon, they have the Zyra ult. They can go for the cheese again. 1,000 eyes. They'll have to see if they can do it.
I mean, I want to call out that Fuyu is tied for the highest level in the game, which is,
insane as an ADC.
Pretty impressive as an ADC.
Oh, look, he's dead.
Yeah, and the Baron's gone. Like, we hyped it up as like, yeah, they could try and go for this. Like, that thing, you blink and you miss it. It is gone. The Baron taken by Paragon once again. They understand how to utilize this Zyra and what you can do with it. Now, they took the Baron at the sacrifice of control of the Dragon area, which RIZE are taking right now. And Paragon looking to try and regain control. Fastlane does not walk into the bush that they needed to go into for RIZE to get that win.
And let's see if Paragon plays properly. They have Baron. Let's see if they can put. They really need to be looking to push through mid and enter Dragon through sort of mid lane, right? You really don't want to be going into the dark. The night is dark and full of terror's bot side here of your jungle. You entering through here is a bit like death with a Nautilus and a Scion. Fast leg,
caught, stunned,
naughty.
Followed through, and RIZE get their pick they were looking for.
Yeah. Entering through mid when you don't have vision of the boss of jungle is imperative, even as the team that has the Baron. Right here, though, they've got to be a bit careful because they are at a 4 versus 5. They're looking here to see if they can somehow push mid and force RIZE into a bad fight, because if they send one member to Dragon here, RIZE, they're actually, you'd favor that fight with the fact that only the Rakan is dead for Paragon. And look at Paragon, that's what they're doing. They're trying to push down mid, they give up. That's going to be soul. They're just giving it with no response. They're not even going to get the inhib. Maybe they can go for top turret because they've got to answer here somewhere, Paragon. They're the ones who got the Baron.
Yeah, they get pushed away. RIZE handling the Baron buff perfectly here as Paragon now trying to get something with their Baron moving up. They only have 2 caster minions here. You're not going to go a whole lot, although that is a lot of damage. Oh my god. Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. Don't listen to me. As Chocolate, maybe a little bit too far forward, trying to dash away, gets hit by the Scion ult, flashes out of the knockup, but Chocolate does not have the mobility to get away from this one. Will go down eventually, and Casablanca will grab that kill, and it's another power play here. Still 4v5 as Asura getting caught out, flashes away to survive. Still 4v5 in favor of RIZE.
Yeah, and RIZE are just going to keep going here. They know they need to win this fight right now.
Don't hit the stun for you, getting away. Big root there from Bartholdi, but now Fastleg caught out again from the Pantheon ult. Fuyu having to blow the ult early, gets pushed back into the team from the Azir ult, and now Soren J, the last carry, left alive here as Casablanca backs off to heal up, get back to base. RIZE still chasing here. They're going real far for this kill onto the Zyra, and Corky, Soren J will jump over the wall. And RIZE may not be able to get them. Gonna go over here. No.
You can't do this to me.
No, the Baron recall comes in clutch. And that's a lot of time wasted for RIZE.
Yeah, you can't do this to me. The fact they managed to pull off, that's actually a heist for Paragon in the end to survive. Two members surviving there, but starts off with Chocolate overextending a little bit. However, again, Ambessa, she's not really in this game, let's be honest. She does at least buy some time, but it's the follow-up, right? RIZE do not stop, and they managing to pick up the bot lane of Paragon means they're going to be able to get at least something on the map here. Don't forget their waves were not in a good state, RIZE. Their mid was pushed all the way in, top was pushed about halfway in, bot was pushed, a little bit further for RIZE. So they managed to pick up one turret, but it isn't everything they needed. Paragon need to respect the amount of times that RIZE are stacking here. Fastlegged, you're being caught again here if you walk in. Bartholdi's got to be so careful. Oh,
now Scooby caught out. Zyra ult put down. Bartholdi uses the Zonias, buys so much time. Fastleg gets eviscerated, but Xiaomei is getting the same. It is 1-for-1 right now, but Bartholdi, the health bars are not looking good for Paragon. Xiaomei will finally go down after the passive. Fuyu uses the ult. Chocolate still under tower, but the poke is immense here. Jatiko is hitting so hard and just pushing everybody away. They're so scared of this Ezreal, and for good reason. Look at the damage done. Jatiko holding off the enemy team while they push into the bot side.
And you've got 17 seconds left on Fastleg, but if you're RIZE here, you just play this nice and slow. You've still got your 2 carries available. You're going to be able to poke out Paragon. Okay, they don't go for anything more. It's sensible play, to be honest. I think it would have been taken a very long time, and Soren J would have been back up. This has gone from Paragon having a lot of control to just one mistake on a C and top, sort of snowballing into the bot lane dying, and it's just a couple mistakes here and there that have led to this state. And I think it comes down to the fact that they're not respecting how much RIZE are just willing to just sit in a bush.
Yeah,
I mean, just sit in a bush.
It's also the fact that this is not the first time the game has flipped exactly like that, right? Like Paragon had control at the start of this game, and then RIZE stole 2 dragons and won the fights. And then Paragon took control back, and now RIZE took control back again. It is so back and forth, just capitalizing on the small mistakes that these players are making here. Just a little bit too aggressive here, and without that same tank line that RIZE have, it feels like Paragon are in a little bit of trouble. But Scooby alone can't be taking those fights. Paragon getting very crucial pick 39 minutes into this game.
And this was almost a mirror, Fastleg's been got caught in bot side, right, when he tried to walk in for the dragon, ends up giving the Drake over. Here, Paragon kind of pull off a similar play where they pick up the support of RIZE. Scooby, he's gone. And so now Paragon have a little bit of breathing room, because that Nautilus hook and Nautilus Ultimate, the depth charge, is a really massive engage tool for RIZE to be able to start these fights from Fog of War. So that being down at least gives Paragon a bit of time to farm up a bit more, get that bot lane maybe pushed out a little bit more, and at least just slow it down so they can look for another good fight. Because look at the summoner spells, right? Everything is going to be up very likely in that next fight, other than Ignite on Fastlegged and the Flash on Chocolate, which is very, very close to coming up anyway. You're going to have flashes in all your major carries for Paragon. So this next fight, you do have the option of making a bit more aggressive plays on side, looking for a big pullback on the feathers, because you do shred. Still at this time, you do shred. And Xiaomei, he's in a bad spot.
No. We cannot be walking into that bush. Xiaomei able to tank enough to get out. TP used from Soren J as well. If that was anybody other than Xiaomei, that would be a dead champion for RIZE once again. But that is a big health advantage.
It's
and
gone.
We've seen just how fast the Baron can go. Paragon pulling the trigger once again, getting a Baron kill. Chocolate dies in a Baron fight. What else is new? But Paragon getting out of the fight. They're going back in. The Pantheon ult onto Fuyu, trying to get the kill onto the Xayah, but they're losing so much in the process. Fuyu gets the kill. Fastleg is trained, though, as they are getting backdoored. Their base is getting chased down. Casablanca pushing in, ending this game. Double kill for Fuyu, buying so much time, kiting out, but it doesn't matter. Casablanca wants out of this game and Fuyu can't stop it. RIZE with a crazy victory in game number 1.
Oh my lord, what an ending to this game. This has been one of the games of UKL of all time. This game is absolutely mental. The fights around the dragon, you have the picks in the jungle, but this ending is heartbreaking, honestly, for Paragon. You picked up every Baron this game, and in this instance, you end up sort of faltering a little bit because of the fact that you go for this re-engage, but not everyone is on the same page as Fastlane. They're already in retreat because of the Pantheon, and you wonder now, if you played it a bit differently, if that Rakan is peeling rather than trying to play aggressive, are you able to take this fight? Those are the questions going through your head right now, and those are the kind of questions that punish the sort of ruin the trust you have in your fellow teammates, right? Because you watch that game and you go, we know how VOD reviews go. You go, well, you should have done this instead of this. And you start going, you start second guessing yourself. And that's a heartbreaking way to lose, especially on a backdoor from the Nazir, where you honestly, Fuyu and Soranjay were doing insane work this game.
Yeah,
it felt like they were winning against the comp diff, to be honest. I mean, they were really struggling to make stuff happen. They had to get pick after pick. It was really hard here for Paragon. I want to make that abundantly clear. This was a hard game to play, and they managed to make it work again and again and again. It's just that final little bit that they falter. They make a slight misdecision their top side jungle, and RIZE punished with a TP, and it's over.
Yeah, beautifully done there by RIZE in the clutch there to be able to close that game out. But we are going to send it to a quick break before we get into game number 2, guys. We are just 1 game into a 3-game series, and it's already exciting as hell. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go! Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Come on, everybody, bring it in.
And welcome back, everybody. Game number 1 was insane. And we have at least one more of those in store here as RIZE fall in game number, or RIZE get their win, rather, in game number 1. I don't remember anymore. It was all over the place. But RIZE get their victory, game number 1. Talk me through this, Rob, because I know we have a couple of replays to go through.
Yeah, I had to take my hoodie off. It was so stressful watching this game that I think I was getting too hot under the collar. It was insane. I think the first replay we've got is around what I would say is the first sort of major fight. We saw the invades earlier on coming out from Zyra. However, this is the first fight I would really put down to me. Oh, this is actually, sorry, the end of the dragon fight that we saw. We see that in the beginning of this fight, Azura manages to steal the dragon, and then it sort of goes like chaotic as all hell, where RIZE is just sat there in retreat mode and Paragon are trying their best as Paragon are losing a few members. But Holy saves his pay in the end with a really great Zyra Q. But it was just this is the end of a fight that was just ridiculous, where they caught Scooby first, and they still lose the dragon, and they're still losing the fight until basically Paragon overextend but manage to pick up the kills.
Yeah, and that almost feels like a little bit of the story of the game, right? Just a little bit of overextension. Paragon gets caught out, and then RIZE do that. I think for our second replay, that also is kind of what happened there. I think it was the post Baron, where they go up to that top side and try and get something after a bit of a rough play there, where they're like, they look good, they have control, and then just a little bit too far, a little bit too much of a push, and it catches them out.
Yeah, if we can bring it up, it's not. RIZE sort of end up really sort of struggling to sort of end a game where they should be winning because of the comp difference, right? And here is where RIZE finally find an inroad into the game, where Chocolate kind of overextends, trying to like zone them off of the turret, gets caught first, and this Ambessa really wasn't in this game. Did the job to some degree, blocking side ults, playing aggressive, making sure time was bought for his carries, but realistically wasn't really in this game. And this ult coming through from Dratiko is massive, cancelling Fuyu's back. And see here that they already see the Hex Gates, they see where Paragon are playing into, they're being funneled into this topside jungle, and off the back of this play you see Fuyu and Farside getting picked up where the entirety of RIZE collapse. Both both their jungler and mid of Paragon, Sarah J and Barholdy managed to get out here in the end, backing in the Drake pit after the end of a very long chase. But this realistically should not be what is happening here when you've got this Baron as Paragon. Getting this long chase into your own jungle is an absolute disaster setting where you are playing a game that is going to be harder for you as this goes on with the Azir poke, with the Ezreal poke. And yeah, you can't play like this, really. When you start getting run down like this, the map becomes neutral, you're no longer pushing them in.
Yeah.
They're not playing into you, you're having to play into them, and that's where you kind of fall down a little bit.
Yeah, as we take a look here at our post-game stats and see exactly what all shook out here, we could just see, I mean, props to Fuyu and Sora J there, who had
Barholdy as well. Look at Barholdy's damage.
Yeah, Barholdy.
My lord.
Paragon looked really good through a lot of this, but just could not close out the game, and you can see Dratiko specifically there, with the gold, with the damage, with the KDA as well, just popping off there. 56,000 damage, the most damage in the game, was absolutely crazy there, and that's why we have picked Dratiko to be our MVP for game number 1.
And he was quiet early on. He wasn't doing that much in laning phase, but late game, untouched, completely untouched. 2 deaths as well, Thousand Eyes. Look at that, 2 deaths. Can't really fault the performance later on. Where yes, there's not that much threat onto you as the Ezreal, as we see. I think the Ezreal sort of
Ezreal looks different.
Ezreal's changed. He's grown up a lot, hasn't he? He's become an emperor and everything. Ooh. No, it's just a really great performances this game went on for Dratiko. Kind of quietly in the background. You weren't really sitting there in the earlier fights going, "Oh my god, the Ezreal's scary!" But it was later on where this Ezreal was pounding damage into the side, and it's really hard to play into, right? As Paragon, you can't really do anything.
Yeah, I think the perfect example is that last replay where that Ezreal stops the back of Fuyu, which lets them chase everybody down with the Hex Gates and everything else. Like, everything worked perfectly, but Dratiko set that up. There were a lot of really good Ezreal ults that forced Paragon into really, really sticky situations where they had to stop backs, pick to reset really long or lose more. So, I mean, very well done there for RIZE. As Paragon can't feel the worst about that game because they definitely had a lot of good points, but man, it doesn't feel good to lose a game that you really felt in control of for a bit.
You felt in control really early on as well. You got that first kill right in Pantheon's jungle, and when you get that kill onto Zyra and she gets like a 20-30 CS lead, and you go, "Ooh, we've got a chance here, boys." It gets a bit harder as you start, you make those mistakes. Again, that 40-minute dragon is the one we should first look at. We would always look at and go, that is the beginning of RIZE actually playing their game this time, as opposed to Paragon dictating pace. Beyond that, it just goes into a bit of a fiesta. I think both of us were a little bit. It was very back and forth. You don't feel bad, but on the flip side, you feel bad about losing to a backdoor. That always feels really hard to play. You sit there and go, guys, we kind of should win this game, and now we've just thrown it to an Azir backdooring us. Yeah. And now going to game 2. I wonder what side Paragon picked, because they did have side select for game 1. I believe they were the highest seed coming into this game. I wonder if they go back to blue side or they go for red, because overall, I think Paragon had a lot of positives here, but I think they sort of not got in their own heads, but they really didn't look further afield on how are we going to get onto this Ezreal? How are we going to get onto this Azir? They didn't really plan for that. And your answer is, I'm going to Rakan. I'm going to play Rakan and try and get onto Ezreal here. That's so difficult. You don't really have that much follow-up either.
Yeah.
I think you kind of need to go back a little bit to drawing board in Paragon's draft a tiny bit and try and play a bit more hard engage that has follow-up rather than just a Rakan ult as your primary way of making plays.
I also want to point out, Skarner was left entirely up this entire time. And granted, Skarner doesn't feel that great into Zyra specifically, but
it's awful.
not it's surprising to see Skarner just like kind of completely ignored in a draft for what feels like the first time in months.
I mean, yeah, I am very surprised we didn't see it. I do think that, again, the Zyra pick this series is going to be very, very important. And we saw it almost in game 1, Paragon recognizing that and picking it up. If there's a side flip, I wonder if we see a first pick for Zyra maybe, or do they value the Ezreal higher because we saw that coming through? I'm questioning, again, if RIZE have a bit more, like their carries didn't really have that much, like, actual threat. There's not Vi ulting you this game, right? There's not an Orno on top of your head. There's a Zyra ult you can walk back from, and then you've got an Ambessa ult on an Ambessa that was out of the game, really. Didn't really have any damage. So you didn't really have any threat onto you. And I wonder if RIZE's carries, which they did falter in this game. I remember Casablanca trying to make a play in mid lane, shuffling into his own Azir turret that isn't going to kill everyone. And I wonder if RIZE get a bit more pressure on their carries this game, whether they actually falter and they sort of crumble under the pressure. Because this was already they made a game that they should be winning from draft. Really, it's very hard later. So yeah. I do have positives for Paragon, but they do have to actually punish. They have to punish. They have to punish.
Yeah.
What's being seen coming out from like Pantheon, I really don't think is actually that good on the current patch. And I think you got a good jungle matchup and you ran it with it, and you still didn't. He still did lots of things in this game. So I want to see them punish a little bit harder, or the jungler not allowing him to get free smites. Like you said on cast, there were 3 dragons to the side of RIZE, and 2 of them should have been Paragons.
Yeah.
That can't happen if you're actually making plays onto the Pantheon.
Yeah, absolutely there. And we'll see where things shift up. I know Paragon has selected to go to blue side here, so they are going to be We are going to be seeing both teams on the same side once again, which means we could get similar drafts. We'll see if that changes up. I would like to see Paragon shift up here and maybe a little bit more engage, a little bit more front line, because I think maybe that could have been part of the issue there, right? Paragon didn't have the best ways to engage team fights, and it becomes hard to end the game when you don't have that in your head sometimes.
I also think if your plan was to play Zyra, was to play, it wasn't really to play Zyra, but Zyra, Ambessa, was their first pick, Corki. I actually wonder why you banned Draven over banning Ezreal. Because I feel like if you're Draven, do you want to play Draven into like Zyra one-shotting you? Not really. So I wonder if that was more of a respect bang to the ADC of RIZE, as we see the Cho'Gath ban. These are pretty expected. Vi is Azora's most played. Cho'Gath is Cho'Gath. But it surprised me that I feel like if Paragon are going to change this draft up, the first thing I'd target is ban Ezreal R3. B3, sorry. Ban Ezreal on your third ban. And then you're going to be able to play the game. As the Pantheon ban coming through really surprises me, because Paragon showed no signs of wanting to play that on first pick. They took Corki instead. And you're the ones who took it last. So maybe they're going to take... They forget that? The different sides? Or are they going to take Zyra and they think that Pantheon is a counter to Zyra?
Does Azura want to play the Pantheon again and nobody else at RIZE wants it? Is that what's going on?
Like,
they're banning it.
You die level 3. You die level 3.
Guys,
you don't get a
Azura,
choice.
You're not getting it. Like, I'm taking it away. No, it's not happening. But the Azir taken away from Casablanca there, as that was one of the strong points RIZE did have there. It was the one that ultimately ended the game in the last game there. Paragon got to first pick the Varus this time here, not going for the Corki that they had last time. This time, a little bit more of a standard bot lane there, but Dratiko just going to go back on the Ezreal likely.
I mean, why not? It also kind of forces more likely a poke Varus. Generally, many people consider that to be a better form of playing Varus right now, but on hit is still very viable. But that's the other power of this pick, right? The Varus having two ways of playing. But the Ezreal does actually get locked. Jarvan is really interesting because there are picks here that really make Jarvan's life a lot harder than it needs to be. Poppy is still available, and so is Thresh. So this hover, which I'm not surprised if he doesn't pick it, because also you can kind of play into Zyra if it comes through. However, I'd be very shocked if this isn't just a Zyra lock. I'm shocked he's not playing his Zyra, by the way. I feel like this champion is so strong and would match so well. They're actually just going to go for the Sion. Xiaomei says, well, I diffed him in a matchup that should be hard for me last time. I'm just going to take it again.
Now, find an answer for the Sion here, because, I mean, if you can do well in lane as Sion and then be a team fight monster like we saw from Xiaomei, why not? You now put the impetus on Paragon to find a response to it, and this may be one of them. The Shen could be locked in here, and I would expect that to go up in the top side for Chocolate against the Sion. It's just going to be Heartsteel smacking versus Heartsteel smacking.
It's very unlikely. It's possibly a flex to support or jungle. Unlikely. I know Chocolate.
Don't do me like that.
I actually
Don't
do
say
know
that.
his champ pool. He does play a lot. He has played a lot of Shen in the past, and I'm a big Shen fan as well. So I'm happy to see it. However, I'm quite concerned already for Paragon's draft, because what were the things we came away from last game? We didn't really have a consistent way of getting on top of the Ezreal. They had a front line that was hard to play through, and now you've gone for Shen, who needs someone else to deliver him to the back line. He doesn't really do it himself, and you've gone for a Poppy and a Varus who they can hit frontline, but they're not hitting the Ezreal. So I'm questioning now, where does Paragon go to shut this Ezreal down before? Well, it did go to like 50 minutes last time, but before that sort of 30-minute moment, he gets 3 items online and Ezreal doesn't die. And at the moment, I'm not seeing the Poppy ban pick up as well. This is a flex between support and jungle, so I do like it. And it does dissuade the Jarvan, but the Yone just comes through. This is a Casablanca pick. He's played it in the past. Now, if you're Paragon, you've got to go for a ban on Zyra. You have to. Because they've shown an AD mid. They've got a lot of physical damage. What's the thing that rounds out your comp? It's a Zyra. It's got to be gone by Paragon. If it doesn't go here, expect it picked up on R4 for RIZE.
Almost assuredly here, as the Syndra will get banned away, taking away things that may do well into this Yone here, because they know for sure that Yone is going to be going into the mid lane. Already having to deal with a Poppy and a Shen. Do not want to deal with any more kind of pushback here. But we will see if RIZE want to take away more mid laners. If they want to target somewhere else, do see Sejuani as the first ban for Paragon, so they have not taken the Zyra just
I'm shocked.
yet.
I understand the Sedge ban. Sedge Yone, that's a good combination. But I just think if you're Rise, you want there you go.
There we
Please,
go.
thank you.
Okay.
I was really
All right,
worried
cool.
they had just forgotten this champ existed, but they picked it last game. I'm kind of mind blown that it didn't come through. So anyway, besides the point, that going through means that now they have to look for a different magic damage jungle. And it's what's left. Maokai is available. The Leona is blinded, so they're actually waiting to see the jungle matchup for Azora here, which is quite uncommon, seeing jungle last pick.
Lilia, I guess.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not just grabbing a magic damage jungler, right? Like, because you kind of need something. And if say you take away a carry jungler for Bart Holly, who does play good Lilia, by the way, he does have a good Lilia on him. So if they take it away, you're then going down that tier list, and there's no Vi for instant lock access onto the Lilia. You got to look for something else to lock that down as. I swear to God, if you are, this has got to be a joke, Hover, because I'll be very, very, very upset. I will be unbelievably upset
if that gets picked. Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you, please. I think they heard you from here.
Thank the Lord. I mean, they're probably doing that to screw with us, but still, the Ezreal, the Rakan rather. Maybe that's why the Poppy locking comes in. This now is going to be Poppy jungle. Obviously the Shen top, so the mid pick is now going to come through. This is a very low damage draft. If this ends up being a Galio. Anivia, good into Scion, but be a bit surprised if they go through. Cassio being hovered.
Okay.
I actually like this quite a lot. It's a decent matchup into the Yone. It's still...
And the Ezreal.
I'm going to ask you, how are you killing Ezreal? How are you jumping on Ezreal?
That is the problem,
You're now playing Cassio into Ezreal, so now you've got to pray. Fastlane has got to have a Rakan game of all timers. Oh, please. That'd be exciting. I'm excited to see it.
That would be exciting.
I
would be surprised. It's an AP jungler.
It's an AP
right?
jungler. It's got a decent match. It farms pretty fast, and it's going to be Nico.
It's Nico jungle, of course.
I'm just waiting. I'm just pausing because
Is it Scion jungle and Nico top? I don't.
Go ahead. I mean, go ahead. I mean, do you. Nico jungle clears pretty quickly. It is a decent jungle champion. I'm just very surprised to have seen the Nico when I feel like it would be a great game for Azora to flex some of his carry muscle here. Nico is kind of carry, as he's also got TP on, so he kind of needs to put unless this isn't updated. I would really hope that this is not updated and he's actually got smite, because that would be very sad to get a remake of the lobby. Besides the point.
No, he was changing to barrier too. It was changing. So
anyway,
what is happening?
Nico jungle is actually good. It does clear pretty quick. It has decent ganks. Obviously, you can do the lane gank cheese, but as a jungler, but you get my point. It is pretty solid. However, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen something like a Lilia or something like Evelyn would have been okay. Single magic damage champion on your team. Evelyn, can kind of take weird angles and assassinate Varus or whatever. It'd be, you can play on these off angles. But still, the Nico, I want to see how it operates within these team fights, because Poppy, for example, Poppy ult ruins that sort of ability to play that if the Poppy is in any position to knock you out. Shen is going to be able to at least cover some of the engages early on, maybe for at level 6 at least. And then you're going to have to play into a Varus, who will probably want to look towards poke, but I think actually has to go on hit, because I think you are severely lacking damage this game. Consistent damage. Cassio is not going to do enough damage to multiple members versus the Scion, so it's going to be a attack speed Varus, but still. Paragon have gone a bit crazy again, and then Rice have matched the crazy.
I'm just at a loss for words. Because I'm still confused on if we actually got smite on a champion, or if we just are not running with the smite in
or it
this
didn't
game.
get updated, or you see him flicking through.
Yeah, no, this feels like one of my solo queue games where my jungler swapped positions and forgot to take smite, and now has to AFK so that we get the reset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to assume that there was a lock screen on the thing. I see him flicking through. I see the flicking through the summon spells, and I'm like, why would you ever even risk it on any client swapping between summoners as a jungler? Anyway, besides the point, if this is Nico jungle, it's going to be pretty fast clearing. Interested to see if Paragon can play around the ganks. That's the
Yeah,
big thing to
yeah.
come up. Like, is it going? Are they going to be able to be aware that it's not like Nico mid or jungle or support where you go, Nico's not on the map, guys. She's not in her lane. She's never going to be seen. You're never going to actually know unless you've
Yeah.
got really good tracking early. They did last game. Last game they had really good tracking, so they have to do it again.
Yeah.
On the other side, RIZE have a good chance. They have a good chance here. I actually really like their draft.
Yeah, we are getting into game here. So game number 2 gonna get started, and we will see exactly what's going on. Okay, we did get smite. Deep breaths, everybody. We do have a jungler in this game. And we're gonna see Rakan did not buy items. Fast-legged is
No, he's gone
running
back.
to base there, buddy.
So already maybe some mental warfare. Maybe last game broke a
The
bit away.
Nico is in their heads. They're scared of Nico in the shop now.
Yeah, as we see it invade. It's a mirrored invade to what they did last game. You know, it's the same side, but they're still invading bot lane. I wonder if they catch Fuyu, because last time Scooby showed himself.
This is with Braum too.
Yeah, Fuyu's got to be a bit careful. I hope he's got his okay.
Oh, it hits.
Silence, please. Okay, there you go. Wonderful. He's actually survived, but has to bird flash. Already value.
It's a big flash
massive.
for Varus of all characters.
Yeah, especially with the Nico ganks, right? The Nico coming through. If the Nico does end up starting like a Raptors, which there is a wall on it, so they have an edge of the Paragon at least will have some vision of where Azora starts. They have to be aware that, you know, this Nico gank, even at level 3 on a flashless Varus is going to be very scary. But we'll have to see if that comes across, because I imagine Nico is a full clearing jungler. I've actually watched very much Nico jungle. Have you watched very much Nico jungle? Because I've not seen too much of it.
I'm here and there. So I'm friends with some people that do a lot of jungle clears. I'll say that much. One of them is known for doing more jungle clears than playing the game itself. So I have seen Nico here and there. It's a lot about that W passive. And yeah, ganks are all right, but it really is just about that clear and getting attack speed and trying to, you know, be annoying at that point. But man, already seeing him on the bot side here, Jatiko doing a lot of work. This is already a better start for the bot lane for RIZE.
Massively better. And also want to mention the lethal tempo on Ezreal this game feels, you know, doesn't need that instant burst of damage, which, you know, if you're playing Ezreal into Zaya you wanted. This game, Ezreal into Varus wants to take those auto for auto trades, so is able to, you know, actually fight the Varus early on with that lethal tempo keystone. And it's going well for them. The Braum as well, even though Rakan, generally a good pick into Braum, early on, Braum passive is just so strong. So they're getting a good side of this. Elsewhere on the map, we're seeing the top lane being pushed in. Interesting Chocolate on a champion I know he's got a lot of time on. Shen is a champ we don't see that much in competitive, but it does have some pretty decent laning, and if you are aware of its damage, you can get some surprise kills. He has gone for the TP, some Shen's like the Ignite, but overall, solid there. And Soren J, that's not a good trade in mid, my friend.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately not uncommon here. Cassiopeia is a little bit
Got no mana.
tough to deal with here when you have that early game, and like you said, no mana there, not the tier just yet here, so we'll be burning through that. And Casablanca does not have that same worry, can just spam spells to oblivion.
Hasn't even had to use his potion here. Both potions already burnt on the Cassio, and so this so far is going a bit horribly for the mid laner Paragon. Might need a little bit of help from his jungler, because the trade's not great as Chocolate just, you know, this is kind of the Shen lane, at least in comp. You shouldn't get the kills, but you can try for. He's at least trading into them. Once you get level 6, it is very strong. Interesting to see what build he goes for on Shen. There's a lot of stuff available. Deadmans. You see some redemptions as well, pardon the pun. But there's a few options here, especially this fight. I do think he needs a bit more damage if you look at the side of Paragon's draft, right? Like, they haven't got that much damage consistently for this Scion, because it's going to be very hard for the Varus to hit. Interesting to see if Chocolate goes towards like a Titanic, for example. Something like that to do a bit more.
Titanic, Heartsteel is also just something Shen's will go sometimes, just to have that extra frontline and that extra burst damage there. So already trading really well into Xiaoman. You know, we said pick up the Scion, you got to find an answer to it. Wasn't the Ambessa, maybe the Scion, or sorry, maybe the Shen rather, because it is hitting pretty hard right now.
Yeah, I mean, Shen does a surprising amount of max health damage on his Qs, has a pretty decent time into most tank matchups. I'm interested to see if he's also gone for, I like to call them the Expetia runes, where you grab like the approach velocity, where you're able to extend the fight. Oh,
There you go. Gotta count the minions.
Yeah.
Every time, and Azora catching Sora J sleeping, gets the flash out of mid lane, but still, no kills.
Yeah, Flash being but there's going to be a dive coming here for RIZE on mid.
Oh, and they're flashing over. They're going deep under tower, and that is first blood going to Casablanca. Sora, beautifully played.
And gets the flash on the Nico gank, and then just walks back around again. Soren J doesn't really play in the right spot, really needs to play quite far, sort of far north in that lane, so to speak, away from the possibility of being ganked over the Raptor wall. Doesn't respect that, falls down. And already the Yone is on the board, and this is not someone you want to be seeing as, look at the inventory for the Cassio. Ooh. He's not running out of mana anytime soon.
All right, well, at least we can trade. We can trade back. It won't do any damage, but we can push buttons now.
We're not going to run on one wave. Excellent news, everyone.
How much mana is that?
That's like 1,000 mana or something, right? That's you're never going on this cast anymore. Yeah, we do obviously like a rod build sometimes. Obviously, you get any lost chapter item is usually going to be the Seraph. So, at least you are going to use these mana crystals, and they do go towards at least some items you want to get on iron early. As the first dragon is going to be taken by Paragon. Crazy that they actually get this as so early on. We've seen that Azora's kind of outpaced Butthole in this jungle.
Yeah, it's just been push in that bot lane, and the reset there for Soren J does a lot to get them that first dragon, first objective grabbed in the game as well. So at least something there for Paragon is their mid lane has been a bit of a struggle here, and you can just see how much of a problem it is.
And it is pretty common to when you watch teams with Butthole on them. He doesn't always he doesn't really save us. The Azora gank's coming again.
Azora's back.
Oh,
there's
no.
the root once again, and it just works every time. Gotta go back to the math class there and get those minions in check there.
If you are forced away, the thing to say about this is if you are forced back, obviously the Cassio can never really walk up and take the trade from the Yone, is that if that is the first minion wave as Chocolate's being collapsed upon in top, it's just a lane swap coming through for the side of RIZE. But if you are sort of being forced away from the wave, if that is the first minion you see is the Nico, it's hard to actually count. You have to count the four melees, and if you aren't instantly aware that it's 4, you do end up being caught out. And 2 kills already for a Yone is pretty scary. I would not want to be Cassio in this game. I think the trades are going to be very hard to deal with.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Scooby also roaming around. We actually have lane swaps, as we are going to be sending Xiaomei onto the bot side here and try and take Xiaomei out of what seemed to be a bit of a rough matchup here and get that Ezreal up alone on the top side here. Bartoldi shows back up in the top side jungle. Will know that Scooby is around. Will know that the wolves are probably all you're going to be getting here.
Yeah, and got to be a bit careful on any kind of dive. Okay, Azora's he's not going to go for anything. They know Bartoldi's here. They would end up covering it, so Chocolate's pretty safe. We're discussing Shen itemization. Is going the Shen mains approved Dead Man's first. It is a really good choice in general, so it's good to see him sort of building like that. Good to see he's got a bit more, movement speed. Maybe going to be able to make a few more aggressive plays with his taunt. So that's nice, I guess, if he's going to get the gold for it. Because if they're going to swap on him again, he should be forced off the wave. But Holy's playing so aggressive here in the jungle, by the way, like trying to force out the side of RIZE. And Soren J is finally able to play in mid lane because of it.
Gets a little bit of a push here. Bartoldi has not done a whole lot in terms of just straight up impact in this game, not to the same level of Azora, but Bartoldi's been doing well. Gets that first dragon, gets Soren J back into this lane, and you can just see is just holding pressure here. Scooby gonna walk in and see this Poppy here. Does have the backup here from Fastlegged. Will back away. Gonna start up this blue buff here. As Azora is actually showing mid lane here. Will be giving away a blue buff.
So at least they managed to get, obviously the top, some of Bartoldi's camps were taken on the top side by Azora, so responding there in kind is good by Paragon. This wave is being pushed in. Soren J
cannot be there. Gets caught out, but a huge Poppy ult. Bartoldi literally saving the life of his mid laner.
I would have to have seen if Azora showed on the wave or was disguised as a minion that entire time. Didn't quite see on the minimap as Johnny's portrait was covering it, but so much disrespect for this Nico pick coming through from the mid of Paragon as Rise's bot lane playing a lot more aggressive. I just want to point out here, what do you think Poppy's building? Because that's a Kindle gem, and that doesn't.
Is that a Knight's Vow?
Is that a Knight's Vow? Is that a Knight's Vow first, Poppy?
The support in me is calling that a Knight's Vow.
In my UKL games, that's really insane. Usually, you see, you know, the Sun and Sky. You know, you see maybe a Dead Man's first. You know, these kind of items going towards this fully supportive Poppy would be an interesting change for Bartholdi, who's shown more of a carry tendency for this split, and it puts a lot of weight onto the shoulders of Sorenjay, but mostly onto Fuyu, who is at least making a go of it in this bot lane, even in CS, and gotta be a bit careful being collapsed upon.
Oh, beautiful flash from Fuyu, but is it enough? Going to get put under the tower there. Will get the Shen ult. Buys time, still goes down, and the ult was stopped by Xiaomei at the same time, so no Shen in the bot lane. No life for Fuyu.
That was incredibly clutch by Xiaomei. We didn't get to see it, but being able to cancel that ult at the last second, that Shen coming through, he's got taunt, he's got flash, that could have been spelt doom for the side of Rises. There's a collapse coming down from the jungler and the support of Paragon. Are they going to pick up any kills at all?
There is the shift. Rutico able to stay alive, still has flash as well, uses it. Now getting charmed, ignited as well, will go down. Fast-legged is the one who gets the kill. Gonna try and chase down Scooby. Sorenjay is coming as well. Are they gonna try and dive under this tower? I don't know if they have the damage. Stun, hit under the tower. Bartholdi grabs that Sorenjay, walks down to help, but it's already over. 2 kills to Paragon.
And you see the question mark hit ping coming out from Rise on Sorenjay. He ends up leaving mid to go for that play, gets literally nothing, and ends up giving up a wave in mid. He is going to be able to help on this dragon, but his Cassio is already really struggling this game, and that kill would have helped an awful lot. Maybe was a bit worried there about Holdy that the Braum may have been able to get out in some way, but Sorenjay sacrificed quite a lot, and mid push means at least an objective. There's going to be the grubs taken for the side of Rise.
Grubs traded here, Rise. 2 sets of grubs, 2 dragons to Paragon here, so we are even once again on that one. It's just going to be a question of who gets that first tower. As Scooby now trying to jump over to Jatico, can't do it with the Poppy W up, and that is another kill to Paragon as they overload this bot lane.
And they at least get something on Sorenjay here, who's been sort of out of his lane for quite a while, not being able to get that XP as Casablanca. He's just fighting, but there's support here for Sorenjay. Can't ult.
Here comes Fastleg, doesn't have the ult. There's the ult from the Yone as Casablanca flashes away because in comes Bartholdi. Casablanca should be able to get out of this. Has help now from Azura. Rise looking to see if they can do something. Flash by Sorenjay. There's the ult from the Nico. Doesn't hit anybody as Fastleg able to get out freely.
That was really close to really bad for Paragon, but it's still going to go.
Oh, big ult from Sorenjay. Stops Azura, but here comes Bartholdi over the wall trying to just get the disengage here. Casablanca pushing forward. Will snap back to the body here. The Sorenjay stays alive again in just really sketchy situations.
That was really close twice to being very bad for Paragon. They managed to get away with getting the kill on Scooby and not much more in the retreat. Just want to call out that we were right. It is a Knight's Vow Poppy, which is interesting. As Sorenjay, you still got to be a bit careful. Trades from Yone this early on are still very, very strong. Hasn't finished that blade yet, but is going to be online very soon. On the other side, the blade is finished on the Varus. So at this moment in time, Fuyu going to be hitting pretty hard. It's not the standard Varus build. Usually people go Rage Blade first nowadays, but still able to be able to shred through this Scion early on in this game.
Yeah, and that is huge to be able to take this Scion down, because that is, you know, one of the lanes that you're really kind of worried about, at least hitting this mid game just for that tank stat alone here. But you're looking at the Yone. Yone is absolutely scary right now. Blade of the Ruin King completed. Even the Nico is hitting really, really hard right now. Has the Rocket Belt finish, so that ult that we saw miss previously may be able to hit next time.
We are seeing these items come online. Interesting, I just want to mention Paragon's mid-jungle are playing a lot more together this game than I think they were, at least early on in the last game. So they're at least trying to catch this Nico out, who I think, if this goes later, Nico, her burst damage is really gross. Her ult has like a 140% scaling or something ridiculous on it. It's absolutely absurd. So later in this game, expect that Nico to hit even harder, even more than she's already, as tank trades in the top lane. Very, very exciting for everyone to watch. But Holdy's here to cover, but I don't imagine Xiao Wei stepping up too far and giving over a kill.
Xiao Wei's having a great time.
He's just chilling.
He's dancing. Yeah, he's vibing right now. It's Soren J. Cannot say the same. Not able to hit the dance at the moment. Will be taking a little bit more damage. And now with the lifesteal on Casablanca, this lane just becomes even more frustrating to deal with.
The sort of one condition you had, which was getting him low enough to maybe look for a gank, is kind of gone with that Blade Online. And now RIZE, they've got that push in mid. They're looking for invades onto the bot side jungle. Paragon, they've got to be a bit careful because just look what's happening. Their jungle and their support are running into bot side. They're question mark pinging it because they assume that there are people there. Let's hope they don't get caught out because Paragon, you really can't fall too far behind when you've got a side lane threat like Yone on the enemy team that no one on your team can really match.
Yeah, and that's like the big worry it feels like right now, because the Zora are just RIZE are very, very kind of ahead right now, and Casablanca is just insanely strong at the moment. What do you do about that? And also, point being made here by Azura, you can just say you're the Yone. That is going to put fear in Paragon's hearts here.
Yeah, and they're trying to make a play here, though, Paragon. They're trying to jump Scooby.
Result, they're getting onto Scooby. Scooby's not really the target you want to be hitting here. They're chasing really, really far, pushing the Ezreal out of the fight. But the Nico ult is coming in, crabs too, and that's Casablanca going in, grabs a kill, shut down from Bartholdi, going onto Casablanca, but they're getting one in return. The Nico goes down. Scooby losing HP. The Varus is able to free hit right now, and Casablanca left alone. Fastleg grabs the kill onto Scooby. They're diving under the tower, and Chocolate gets the shutdown. Big win for Paragon.
Absolutely massive. We were saying this Yone is pretty scary, and I was a bit worried they weren't really focusing him down right. They were looking for the Braum over the Yone. I thought, is he going to get out like he did the last game on the Azir? Doesn't happen, does end up falling. And this is a massive win because the Dragon also goes over. Third Dragon for the side of Paragon. Getting that soul point is really crucial to start forcing fights, because don't forget, they do have this shed. Play on a side lane, even if it's against the Yone, and then you try and force fights when they're playing into it. Dratito is just trying to poke them down. Fuyu is very strong, but RIZE has got support coming in here. You've got to be careful here, Paragon. You've got to get out of here with your lives.
There's the flash just to get Fuyu out of there. Bartholdi will also walk away safely. Paragon with now 3 dragons at 17 minutes. It's a very early soul point for Paragon, where we saw things starting to struggle here. Paragon have clawed their way back in. They're still down in gold, but it definitely feels like they've got a little bit of power going right now.
And they have, as the Scooby's quiet a little bit, being shoved into the wall, they do have, gold, at least on carries that are going to do damage. The Varus, very strong at the moment with that blade finish, looking towards that Rage Blade, and has an armor boot component as well with that cloth armor, so I'm assuming maybe going towards a ninja tab buys as opposed to like Berserker's Greaves. As Soren J is still struggling in this mid matchup. It's still going to be very hard. Okay.
Not surprised. I was a little surprised to see that hit. That shocked me.
Yeah, they're at least running around here, Paragon. They're trying to make a play. It's just surprising that they aren't sort of trying to at least make a bit more aggressive plays onto mid, because it's still been very hard for Soren J to play. Had to base and now burn this TP means there is TP advantage for RIZE if they want to go for play, say, onto the Herald and get a reset. Fast-legged, he's looking here for Casablanca.
Casablanca does ult in there. The ult, no, big Nico ult coming in, and there's Fastleg gone. Soren J gets back under tower, but it is 1-0 on a fight that Paragon initiated on.
And it's a fight that I don't even know if Paragon really would have got too much off of, because the Yone, yes, still has flash, so he could have chosen to leave at any time. And more importantly, even a 2v2, Nico and Yone is pretty winning here for RIZE, because you don't have that much damage right now on those 3 members of Paragon. The Poppy doesn't do that much. God Knight's foul first. The Cassio's not online at all, and you've got a Rakan. So where would your damage come through even in a 3v2? No one really. Paragon, a bit overzealous. They managed to claw it back there with the previous fight. They've immediately given over mid turret. This makes playing mid horrible for Fuyu or for Soren J.
And right now, it's going to be Fuyu in that mid lane. It's going to be holding out as we see Paragon trying to gain control of this mid lane, trying to push up and give some protection for Fuyu. At the very least, see if anybody walks into that bush. But right now, RIZE, they're feeling definitely in control, at least right now, as Paragon have thrown them a bone for the time being. but things are still kind of up in the air.
Very, very tense game as well, because Paragon, they do have a few win cons here, like the Shen ult, for example, sucker someone in, get that first pick with the Shen ult, being able to keep the member who's being jumped on alive, and then maybe play that fight like that. These are the kind of moments in time in the game which they will be very strong, and don't forget they're on soul points, so at some point, RIZE have to go into you, right? They don't want to give over Ocean Soul. It's not the best soul in the game, but it's still pretty damn good on the champions you have on Paragon. Really nice on Cassio especially, so very interested to see if Paragon kind of create that debate, or if RIZE, who have got a lot of gold on their mid and their jungle, just want to shout out Azora having 5 assists and there being 5 kills for RIZE, involved in 100% of those kills. They do have a lot of damage. Like, this Nico is not to be laughed at, right? So strong.
Yeah.
And
can
Paragon respond?
In that last fight.
Yeah, exactly. Can Paragon respond to that?
Paragon also going for the Otacon right now. TP being used. Asura is walking in. Clone's going to check the bush. Sees that it's safe right now. Will be seen as the minion. TP is now coming in. This is going to be a big fight. Want to point out Dratico's not here for this just yet. And there's the Poppy ult. Paragon have the first push on this. And Azura has to use the ult now. Sion ult. Big follow-up from Casablanca. Gets behind, takes out a bunch, and RIZE, they don't even need the Ezreal. Gonna get the kills, gonna get the Otacon, and RIZE have pulled themselves back into this game.
Oh no, it's a disaster for Paragon. They pull the trigger first.
Shen ult on the Rakan to try and make a play onto the Nico, and it doesn't matter. The Nico, she doesn't end up falling. She's a bit too tanky with that Proto Belt, the counter engage, and then the humongous fate sealed from the Yone. It might have sealed Paragon's fate in the playoffs this split, because RIZE are looking phenomenal, picking up, you know, multiple kills there. The Dragon isn't available yet, but Paragon, they're really running out of steam.
Yeah, it is a little bit tough for Paragon now. That looked like a fight that Paragon was gonna have control in. Drotico was not there. It was a little bit late to try and respond for RIZE, and they had the Poppy ult to start that off. You really can't ask for much better of a start for Paragon. They just go too hard on the Nico, and the AoE ults are hitting right now from RIZE.
But hold on,
Soul?
RIZE is
Soul
given
for
Dragon.
Paragon?
They're going to have to fight this out, Paragon, and maybe Chocolate gives his life, because RIZE, they shouldn't let this go for free, and they do. It's Soul.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I didn't know your
Ocean
game.
Soul.
I respect your game, Paragon, being able to pick this one up. They all get the recalls off. They're trying to respond here in kind, RIZE. Very likely to get that mid turret, especially with 6 scrubs, but this is at least something for Paragon, taking that solo away. As Chocolate, you're in the wrong place, wrong time, my friend.
Oh, Chocolate. Not where you need to be right now, and almost assuredly going to go down there. There is the root, and Casablanca will be the one getting that kill. 6-1 now on the Yone, and the fight continuing just a little bit here as Xiaomei is going to get Poppy ulted away. RIZE going to try and make something here with the 4v5 that they have.
Maybe a little bit miscommunication on Paragon there. They Varus ult the Scion, looking like they want to kill him, and then they Poppy ult him away to save him. Which, to me, it's a bit of a concern, because now you don't have this Varus ult, so there's nothing to stop them from just jumping on you if they really want to. Yone is so strong. Poppy, with Hex Flash over the wall, looking to maybe catch someone out. She's going to have to run all the way back to her base with her tail between her legs. Paragon, they're faltering here. They're really fumbling the bag. And now, where do they make a play? Because Yone, can you jump in? Unlikely, he's already killing you as fast as yeah.
Trying to go really deep, cannot grab the kill, and then in comes Bartholdi. Again, another miscommunication as the Shen ult comes. Bartholdi just trying to get out, and Paragon, another big ult used for nothing.
You didn't use Shen ult aggressively here, so you're not going to be able to jump any member that you want. But Holdy, your blue buff is dead, my friend. You should let that one go, because, you know, don't let it hold you back, because if you're running in here, you are going to fall. Chocolate's just grabbing the top wave, understandably, because there's nothing else to really do. They're trying to support the jungler. Did Bartholdi steal that? No, he did not. So it ends up going to Azora. RIZE have to be a bit careful being engaged upon, but honestly, it's just impossible. You're still playing into a Braum. You're playing into this Scion. How are you killing them? You don't have the damage. You've got a Knight's Vow Poppy and a Rakan running at them. It doesn't do anything.
Very, very unfortunate. And again, it's kind of a level of how do you engage at this point? You know, you said in the draft, you've got a Shen, but you don't have that dive to get Shen in the right spot, and there's an Ezreal. That Ezreal right now is on to Sora J, who is just way out of position. Casablanca will again grab another kill, 7-1 now.
Yeah, and Soren J's not had a good game as he is. They're just trying to make some sort of play on the other side of the map, but it's onto a tank Sion. And that's all she wrote, really, for this passage of play for Paragon. Not be able to kill that top laner. Just sort of ruins any sort of play they have. They now have to base. They're down a member. Soren J is a lot of their damage as well this game. Do not forget, you've got basically 3 tanks, a Cassio and a Varus who's going to struggle to hit in these fights. They need to have this Cassio in the game, and they're really not helping her out on sides. They're trying to make plays elsewhere without escorting their major sides. It's a disaster, Thousand Eyes. You just can't be doing that, especially in an this is an elimination game. Thank God if they lose this.
I mean, the other thing too is you need to almost escort both Fuyu and Soren J. You can't do both.
Yeah,
it's almost impossible at this point. You've kind of drafted yourself into a little bit of a corner for Paragon. Granted, they've got the Ocean Soul, and that's huge. Ocean Soul is incredibly strong and very helpful, especially for a champion like this Shen that wants to have that extra little bit of healing. But man, what do you do to get yourself back into this game?
Well, first thing is I think that you need to the communication. I don't know how you fix this within a game, within an elimination game especially, but there's been a lot of miscommunication here. Shen ults when they're looking to play a defensive, and he Shen ults not to keep someone alive, but thinking there's going to be a play. Poppy ults on Varus ults, removing both of them basically being useless. I just think they need to look for a clear, consistent play around this Shen Rakan engage, because otherwise it's going to be very, very hard to play. Fuyu, on the other hand, he's left alone in mid here. Drakiko, look at the damage. Varus ult goes wide.
Poppy ult being charged up, not going to be used. It's on a shorter cooldown, but now they're just going to go in, and Casablanca gets a lot of damage on a fast leg. Xiaomei looking on the side here, going to use the Sion ult just to get engaged here. Bartholdi cannot get back to the team, walks away as the Shen ult buys a little bit of time for Paragon. They are holding out hope here as the ult gets Drakiko out, but that is not the person you need to get out for a fight. Poppy ult basically not useful here, and Paragon flailing.
I want to say something. Have we seen Braum ult this game? Have we seen?
I want to say yes, but I could not tell you where.
Can you remember? I mean, not. This is not Flame or Scooby. This is the opposite. We haven't seen really any required Glacial Fissures. And that's because Paragon can't go aggressive. They can't, even with a Shen Rakan, they're really struggling.
Poppy's doing the job for him sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. They can't be able to make anything happen, and now they're going to have to run into a Baron, and this is where Glacial Fissure will ruin them. How do you even play this in Paragon? We'll have to see.
Baron is under half HP. There is the big damage being done. Nico onto the backline, only hits onto fast leg, and actually Azura going down. The damage is actually hitting now as Casablanca gets into the backline. Soren J still alive, pumping out damage, but Xiaomei too healthy for this here as Drakiko now free hitting, left alone. Chocolate taunting onto 2 here, and there's Soren J now able to do the job this Cassiopeia has needed to do the entire game. Paragon coming up huge 28 minutes into this game. Get the shutdown, and Drakiko, the last one alive. They're diving under the tower, but holding a little bit too far. But it is still a major win for Paragon.
I was worried. I was so worried for Paragon going into that fight. You're going to have to play into Braum, play into a Sion, play into a Yone who can choose his ult time, but play into a Nico ult with a Proto belt and Flash available. And they managed to make it work somehow. Crazy engagement from Fastleg, like catching 3 members. But the fact that they're able to, Fuyu put out enough damage early on to get Azura out of the fight, falls to Casablanca. But Soren J, this Cassio, who has at this point in time not had a great game. Let's be honest. Up until that point, it was so hard to play this game. Soren J does so much in that fight. And now Paragon, they look like they have a good chance here. Maybe not around the others. Chocolate's getting caught out, but there's not any other damage. But they need to not let... They can't obviously let Elder go over, else it will probably be game end. But they need to at least look for a similar play again. Because how do you fight this as later and later you're falling behind in the damage department?
Soren J saves the game, I would say there, to be honest. Like literally keeps Paragon in this. And on top of that, it's huge that Azura only hits the ult onto fast leg. There is a Nico ult only onto a Rakan. that's not the target. You do not want to get that. Charm doesn't hit the knock up here, and they're just going to try and force this fight. These are not the carries that you need to hit. As Casablanca coming around on the side, Fate Seal doesn't hit anybody. Palpy ult knocks out the Azura there as Nico cannot get into the fight. Xiaomei taking so much damage. We have hit the tipping point as Paragon are pumping out too much damage for Xiaomei to stay alive, and it is 2-0 now as Paragon have gained control, and this is an Elder. This is a fairly early Elder 30 minutes into this game that Paragon can take.
And there can't be a response for the Baron. This isn't going to be a trade. This is going to be pretty much pure advantage here for the side of Paragon. What a comeback, to be honest. I thought this game was over. I'll be honest. I thought this game was looking really ropey, and 2 crazy fights in a row. Yes, the Fate Seal misses, but sometimes you need a little bit of luck to win games of League of Legends. So Scooby, he's being caught, my friend. He's been flashed. He's had the flash. And I was going to say there's no flashes available for Paragon anywhere. So a Nico ult was a Nico ult. It's going to kill everyone. Doesn't come through. Paragon peel back enough to pick up Casablanca, and they're going to pick up this Baron, you'd imagine.
Risky.
Really risky, though.
Yeah, they're going to get in onto the Baron. Baron will go down, and it will be given over to Paragon. Casablanca TP'd in, could not get there in time. Paragon, it was dicey, but they get out scot-free.
And this, I would say, this Varus finishing Terminus, hopefully working towards a Jack show. If that Jack show is completed, it is going to be a lot harder to kill him in these fights, and Flash will be available. So it's almost a tipping point here for Paragon, to where you can see now win conditions possible. It is going to be very hard for them to reach the Ezreal. We saw in that previous fight how deep they had to go, and they didn't kill it. And now the question is, can they kill his sort of meatballs in front of him, kill all the tanky members, and can they kill him and end up Ezreal's life? Because Casablanca's being caught here. This Shen is doing a lot of damage.
The Shen is hitting. Casablanca is trying to go for this fight. Honestly, not the fight that Casablanca wanted. Will go down. Chocolate is the one getting the kill. I mean, the tipping point now feels like it was like, yeah, RIZE can just burst out one of the carries and the other carry can't output enough damage. Now, if Sorenjay or Fuyu go down, the other is still hitting really hard. You have to take both out of these fights, or Paragon will just steamroll these front to backs.
And Fastlegs is also recognized. He was getting chunked a lot early on. He was walking up and taking to half HP, and then he has to engage as a half HP Rakan. He's playing a little bit differently, not getting chunked out in the same way, and so he's able to make way more aggressive plays on Rakan and actually then peel back for his carries, which has been absolutely massive in these last 2 fights for Paragon. And I want to see if he can do this again, because it's interesting the adaptation within a game as Paragon now pushing mid. The Elder will wear off very soon. They've still got it for a little bit, but it's unlikely to be forced upon. And they've got the Baron. Can they pick up some more turrets here? Because there's a lot of standing gold available for them. The Poppy was pushing in top. They're looking for a play here, Paragon. Let's see if they can win this game right here and take us to a game 3.
They are pushing down this mid lane with the Baron. The Elder Dragon has worn off at this point. But they are still very, very powerful. And Azura is not in the right spot here. Xiaomei trying to run some interference. Paragon pushes her out and are now just trying to push onto this bot lane tower here with the Baron buff. A lot of damage being thrown out, but it doesn't stick. There's just too much HP for Paragon.
Yeah, just make sure to watch the flashes. Every flash available here for the side of Paragon. Only the top side flashes available for the side of RIZE. This next fight, those flashes are very likely still not going to be up for the bot lane. So, if you are Fuyu, do you play aggressive with a Chains of Corruption? Do you look for a flash engage onto, say, an Ezreal and try and burst him out? Or do you play defensive around this Nico? I think it comes down to exactly the dynamics of where you're fighting. But again, be very aware. Paragon like to play aggressive, and that could be at their detriment here because they need to keep Fuyu alive. He is a monster. Even at 136, he's going to have to be putting out a lot of damage alongside Sorenjay.
Yeah, what is interesting about this is the fact that in a 5v5 scenario, you almost want to just let RIZE engage on you as Paragon. And like, how do you force the fight then? If RIZE just don't take that fight, as top lane tower will go down. We're getting Casablanca on the split here. And Azura is in the background here. That is almost assuredly minion Azura, as there is not going to be the knowledge that that Nico is there, and this could be really, really bad here for Chocolate.
He's okay. They lose the turret. They're getting split pushed here. They got to be really careful here, Paragon, because they got backdoored last game. I don't want to see it happen again. That would be a complete mental breaker, even if they are out of the tournament. No, they just lose the inhibitors. They're making play on Xiaomei here, Paragon. This is exactly what they need to be doing.
Yep, ult used. Xiaomei trying to shield back under tower, will stay alive. The healing from the items is coming in clutch there. Big ult from Sora J, tanking the tower, gets the kill onto Xiaomei, and now Sora J needs to back away.
No,
Paragon
look at
disengaging, hits the stun onto Jatiko. It's cleansed immediately. Damage being done, but the base is getting destroyed. RIZE, they've got to get... Paragon needs to get back to the base. They've got a TP. They've got to get back as Casablanca's hitting the Nexus towers. Sora J TP's back. Asura tanks the tower with the clone. And barely Paragon stay alive. They won the fight, but at what cost?
Oh, you can't do this to me again. You can't. I was so worried we were about to see two backdoors in one series by the same player. No, that was very, very scary. As the TP's coming through, Casablanca's behind them. That was nice. It's a pause.
Oh, no.
It's a pause.
No. This is awful timing for a pause. Want to call out GA on Casablanca. So even if Casablanca does get focused and killed here, Azura is waiting in the wings, and there's the possibility for something huge here. Ult is ready. Fate can be sealed by Casablanca as Azura on the wings here, looking for a play. Doesn't get the Fate sealed just yet. Needs to use it. Azura, big ult onto 3, but it's not doing enough damage just yet. Fuyu still alive. Fast leg, losing HP. In comes Xiaomei Choo Choo as they are taking Paragon down. Dragon spawn, second Elder, almost assuredly going over to RIZE.
Paragon do about the best they can. They know they've got to fight down, right? They've got to fight through the mid laner of RIZE, and they do burn that GA, as you mentioned, when the pulls get through. He had that available, but Shazora off on the side catches all three, and you can't keep Fuyu alive without the Shen ult, and that Shen ult had already been used previously in the fight where they were pushing bot. This Dragon will go over to RIZE, and now Paragon, they can't do anything for 3 minutes. If you will die into this Elder, so you're going to give up Baron as well. And now you're going to have to make a Hail Mary play as they're pushing you in. You've got to play this map super slow, right? Look at top. It's going to be pushing into you. You've got to get your other wave shoved, so they're only playing on one lane to minimize the effect of this Elder. This is the turning point for RIZE. This could be the game that takes RIZE to the next round of the lower bracket. This point here,
absolutely,
that fight.
Yeah, I also want to call out just kind of waiting on that Elder Dragon too, just to buy a couple extra seconds and get that Baron started, so they have both of those buffs for as long as possible while Paragon are on the field. So they're trying to do as much as they can with this timer here. Paragon, it has been up and down throughout this entire series, and even when it feels like they're winning, they end up losing. They need to lock in for these last couple of minutes because they cannot lose another game.
Exactly, and it will be very sad. They went 5-4 in the group in the round robin, right? They were 5th. They had a good chance of coming 3rd, still having another life here. And to go out in the first round, yes, against the new and improved RIZE Gaming, but still to go out in the first round would be disastrous. It's like, what do you do here if you're now Paragon though against this Elder and against this Baron? They're gonna have to come up with a miracle play. I think it's gonna have to be a miracle play coming out of Fast Legs. But they're now being sieged. Can they make anything happen? This is the last chance saloon for Paragon.
Azura waiting in the wings as a minion, trying to be as minimally seen as possible, but the tower is just getting shredded. The threat alone is enough of a push. Nexus Tower did respawn in that time, but things are looking dicey right now. Paragon need to make a call.
They need to do something. Anything. They're going to be sieged here. How long is Elder? It's still got another couple minutes, right? How do you make a play? You're being poked down by the Ezreal, doing so much damage. Chocolate trying to frontline. Are they going to do anything? Fast Leg goes in, doesn't get anything to happen, and they're being stroked out here. How's nice. This is the final chance for Paragon to save the game.
Xiaomei gets burned down really hard. Ignite ticking. Don't get the kill, but the Nexus Tower is down. Nexus is vulnerable right now. RIZE, they're on the precipice right now trying to finish this series in just 2 games. Elder doing
Zora.
so much damage. There's Azura hitting onto a multiple as the AoE ults once again. Elder burning, destroying, and RIZE 2-0 will move on in the playoffs.
That's honestly, congrats to RIZE. They looked. There were a few moments, but in general, they looked incredibly solid. The new and improved RIZE gaming, as we see, and really commiserations to Paragon. Right? I think these games, a 2-0. I don't know if that really does the series justice on how close these games were. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where Paragon, they get backdoored game 1. They almost get backdoored game 2. A couple different decisions. Could we be talking about a game 3 here? It's possible, but they're going to go home very sad in 7th, 8th slot.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the big thing is in both of these games, Paragon had very clear points where they were just in control and they were very much able to, like we were saying, yeah, Paragon should be winning this game from the position that they're in. And either mistakes or really good plays made by RIZE able to get them back into that game. When we said every time, like, RIZE can't really fight, what do? They split push, and your Nexus towers are just getting destroyed.
It did feel a little bit like Paragon. I don't know if it was, exactly how they're doing their lane assignments, but in that game 2, for example, I'm shocked they managed to get so much done with the Yone and the Nico. Don't forget there was 2 people pushing that lane. There were 2 people in that top lane pushing. How did Paragon not force a fight on the 3 that were remaining? How come they weren't able to answer with a Shen early enough? These are questions that they'll have to go, into review and say how this is going, and they'll have to come back next split. That's the sad part here. They don't have another chance. They're going to have to come back again.
Yeah, it is really, really tough there. And I mean, shout outs to Paragon for coming as far as they did. 'Cause, coming into this, we said, yeah, RIZE is a very different team. It is tough to come in when you don't have that level of preparation that you probably would have had against a lot of other teams. They showed up and they had a lot of really good points. It's just those small mistakes got punished in ways that, a lot of, I would say the better teams were punishing them during the regular season.
And I think that we did see in this game Paragon have good chances to come in, and I do think they made them, maybe with draft they had a lot of things where they had to go very, very right in fights. Fastix had to get some amazing engages, and look at this one here. Gets onto 3 members, and it's immediate collapse from Paragon. Chocolate goes in. Azura tries something, only lands onto the Rakan. Vuyu is hitting here. Casablanca goes in, but then just watch Soranjay. He's able to survive and output so much damage. They aren't able to jump onto him. Dratiko actually, cutting this out very nicely, but still, plenty of Cassio damage and bodies in front of the Cassio to keep them alive. Yeah. And off the back of this, they do get an awful lot right. They manage to pick up Elders, they manage to pick up a Baron, but then what happens later is they just make a few mistakes on sides, and it's a disaster. So this is a great play here by Paragon, but this was almost a series of great plays by Paragon, but overall RIZE were never out. And so Paragon had to keep making great plays, and it just was too much.
Yeah, exactly. And how many times did we say, like, yeah, there's just not enough engage on Paragon. There's not a way to force the fight that they need. There's so much on, I would say in both of these games, the Rakan for Fastlag to set up the fights. And there's only so much you can do with a single Rakan engage versus all the AoE damage that was being put out in response there. You're trying to force these engagements and they don't work. Paragon just every instance where they tried to fight there, if it was like the ults hit from RIZE, they could not get the fight off.
Exactly. And the big thing here is that then you also look at like the Shen pick as well. And the Shen, he was a front line, but the Shen ults generally they weren't like, he had a right Rakan to take him in. That's not really enough. And then playing backwards, he was often, these Shen ults were used in a way that they weren't really effective. They were used on targets that weren't being focused, and it means that a huge power of that Champs kit is gone. And so now, even though if you've been dominating lane, you've been playing really well into the Sion, you don't really have a chance to actually do anything. And then later, you're not matching the Yone, so the Yone gets free push. And you're trying to play with your team because you don't have your ult, but then the Yone, it just seemed like overall it was a bit of a Paragon having to do. There was like tiny moments where they did some amazing things, and then the rest of the game was like RIZE kind of feels super stable in this, and they're going to take it. That's quite sad to see when you have a team that they step up but not quite get it over the line.
Yeah, we have another replay too of that Elder fight, so let's take a look at that one here and go through this. I believe this is the one right after Xiaomei gets caught, and Paragon, good start to this here.
They're trying to play sides, right? They're overloading a side lane, trying to catch someone out. There are 4 members here. Shen has already gone back, but then they managed to get the kill, but it doesn't really matter because Shen ults into the fight. Notice this, Shen ults away from the top lane, and immediately RIZE know, well, we're not going to win this, right? We're not going to TP in our mid laner because Azora's still top with him. So while Paragon are getting all these kills you see on your screen, in the base, Shen has gone back, cleared the way to top, then had to join the fight with the ultimate, and had to recall again, and it forces a TP from the Cassio, and it's just a complete mess for Paragon here. Because if Chocolate doesn't ult, this means that Paragon completely win off of this play. However, on the other side, this is a disrespect from Paragon to not recognize that the Yone ult, or the Yone TP rather, was still available. He misses his knock-up here, Thousand Eyes, by the way. He misses his knock-up on the Yone, and it's still a completely winning fight for RIZE. Look at this, misses it. They can't kill him though. He's got GA. So even if you get him low and take him out of the game, you're still going to be collapsed upon. And this ult from Nico is so gross.
Yeah. And I thought maybe this would pop a lot more people than it did, but the fact that Tratiko is there to follow up through that is just enough to get that win, get that Elder, and at that point, RIZE are just power played as much as they possibly could be in the game.
It's Sion with Elder Dragon buff is just a walking turret laser, essentially, because he hits anyone he wants, he's going to take them down. Yone is the same thing, and it's just at that point, it's game over. Commiserations to Paragon. We'll see them next split.
Yeah, Paragon going to be knocked out. We have RIZE for the victory. We're going to have an interview set up right after this break, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back, everybody. We are moments away from getting Xiaomei on for an interview from RIZE. Man, honestly, I'm still kind of a little shocked at the games that we got, Rob, because I was expecting some shenanigans. The games were hectic, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, yes. I think hectic is the absolute perfect word to describe the two games you just seen. And I think that RIZE, they should feel pretty confident, though, going into next round. We'll have to see what Xiaomei says.
As we are going to bring Xiaomei in. Xiaomei, welcome in. Congratulations on the victory. First question, just want to ask, how are you guys feeling? Because I know we were stressed casting the game. I don't know how you guys were feeling.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm quite nervous. I was quite nervous, but I think I had confidence in my team, right? I think I have quite good players. So even though I was a little bit nervous myself, I had full faith in like all four of the people I'm playing with that we would just win no matter what.
It's exciting. I was going to ask you, you've played 3 roles this split for RIZE.
Yeah.
So when are you telling Azora and Scooby-Doo they're off the team to play the other 2 roles?
I
Because
mean,
you are the manager of the team. You've managed the team in the past, so I know you have that power. So when are you telling Scooby to go back on business to Sweden, and you'll be filling in support?
I mean, I would prefer not to have to do so.
Like, what are you playing as well? What are you playing? Just spoil it for us. We've got to know. You signed supporting it? We need to understand. Teams have got to prep for this stuff.
Like, they haven't seen, but the Jume Lilia gaming goes quite hard, right? And in support, it might just have to be Jume Cyan, yeah.
You know what? Sure. Why not? I mean, I know game number 2 was probably like a little bit more sketchy for you up in that top side there. You were having a little bit more of a struggle, but like watching the rest of your lanes going well, were you guys getting anxious at all as the games kind of went back and forth, or were you guys kind of calm and collected?
No, I think like in the middle of the game we got like too excited, right? I think that was also like visible in the gameplay. We tried to do like too many things instead of like just sticking to our comp. But then at some point we just said like, guys, like they can't like sideline against us, right? So we just went back to playing towards like our actual win condition, which is like Yone on site. And then like the game calmed down a bit, and I think like that's when also like the game shifted like really heavily back into our favor.
I have one more, at least one more, but one more question. You have said at least in the Discord, you've been discussing. You've said you're an Akali Sion enjoyer. Those are your two favorite champs. Why do you think they were banning? Obviously, you have played some Cassante, but we know that you much prefer Akali on Sion. Do you think that they should have respected your Sion more rather than banning your Cassante, or do you just believe that Cassante is so broken that and not been removed from the game that you would have picked that anyway if it had been available? Like, what's your thoughts on the fact that they didn't really put respect on your name on the Sion?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like after that game 1 performance on Chocolate, I was quite surprised he didn't ban my Sion. I'm gonna be real. But aside from that, no, I think Cassante, I mean, I would have picked it probably if it was up. But I think there's better champions. I think Sion is just giga broken. So I would have probably still leaned towards Sion, obviously. But yeah, no, yeah, I think they should have not banned Cassante, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Want to thank you, Xiaomei, for coming in for an interview. Any shout outs for you before we let you go celebrate with your team?
Well, I have one question actually before the cast, before I do shout outs, right? Will my jungler get MVP for game 2? Because Lil Bro was like perma asking, like, surely I'm MVP, right? So, like,
well, you'll have to see. We'll have to see. We don't want to give it away just yet.
All right. Yeah, no. Obviously, shout outs to all 4 of my teammates, right? All 4 of our players. Shout outs as well to Shmion, my goat. But yeah, no, shout out to Asora, Casablanca, Dratico, Scooby. Like they're all like 4 like amazing players. Especially like Asora, Casablanca, Dratico for like joining towards the end of the split, right? We had quite a rocky split, but like they joined, and ever since, with like our gameplay has improved like tenfold, and they're really amazing players to work with. So I'm really happy to get to play with them, or to get to work with them rather. But yeah. Besides that, you know, as for like social media or whatever, you know, follow Teddy Amlol on Twitter. You know, maybe I get some more followers. Thank you, please, guys, please.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in, and we'll let you go celebrate with the team here, and we'll take a look here at our post game here as well as we just look at the stats from that second game, because I mean, yeah, Casablanca had incredible stats there for game number 2. Is looked really good just all around. Things were back and forth, but I mean, RIZE still pulling out the win.
Yeah, I think that Paragon had openings in this game. They took them to some degree, and then in other cases, I think they kind of fumbled the bag, especially later in the game with that Shen joining the fight late. They can go away with some positives, but again, it's going to be next split now for Paragon and RIZE. They move on to face Belfast Storm in the lower bracket, and that is going to be another test entirely, because the Belfast have looked pretty good. I would say a little bit better than Paragon, but still, they were all in that kind of 5-4 kind of bracket, and maybe it's going to be another upset on our hands, because RIZE, they do not look bad at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about that game 2 MVP. As I know Xiaomei was really wanted to get the knowledge on that one. It was, in fact, Azura. We talked about that, and it was just the impact of the early game from this Nico was immense. The fact that they could get Soren J so far behind, the fact that Casablanca was so far ahead, a lot of that due to Azura.
Yeah, I mean, Azura was pretty much everywhere early on. Up until that fight around 20 minutes, 22 minutes, where the Yone managed to land a massive ultimate, Azura had been dictating the entire tempo of the game, picking up having pretty much full kill participation up until that point. You can't ask for more from your jungler, really, can you? So he looked incredible early on. I do know we'll also hopefully have a series MVP as well, which will be a surprise because it's actually someone who wasn't MVP for either of the games.
Yeah, we were kind of going back and forth. They asked us like, what's the series MVP? And we were like, That's a tough question, but we gave it over to Casablanca. Didn't get MVP in either game, but throughout both, I think had the most impact.
I mean, the backdoor, right? Game 1. That's pretty substantial.
Almost backdoor game 2.
Yeah, exactly. Drakiko, I keep saying his name wrong. I can't say it properly. He showed up massively in game 1 and being able to put a lot of damage as well. Casablanca was honestly right behind him when we were discussing behind the scenes. And then in this game 2, the Shione performance, honestly, yes, it was set up by Azora, but a lot of it was down to that side laning and that pressure that he put on the map. And I think, and honestly, let's not forget the massive ultimate around 25 minutes, which really sealed Paragon for the next 5-10 minutes of the game, not being able to do too much. Really showed up today. And these are the three, remember, these are the 3 new additions. These are the 3 new additions to RIZE, and they've each got MVP between them.
In some way, shape, or form, yeah.
So looking forward, clearly RIZE have done something good with their recruitment.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously RIZE now moving forward here, going to be moving on to the next step of the lower bracket playoffs. Unfortunately, we're saying goodbye to Paragon today, but that is all she wrote for today. I want to thank you, Rob, for coming in. Also want to thank everybody behind the scenes for getting us on screen, helping us look good, helping us sound good. Want to hope that you guys all come in for our next games, but that will be it for us. Have a wonderful night.